Welcome back to the Night Shift, your safe space for talking about UFOs, UAPs, NHI, disclosure, top secret committees, secret underground cities, the apocalypse, which is always just 48 hours away. It's good to be back with you. It's Doomer Friday. It's 1:05 p.m. on the East Coast. Friday, April 10th, 2026. We narrowly survived a nuclear holocaust this week. Give yourselves a pat on the back. You've earned it. There's a lot to talk about. It's been a busy news week. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Yeah, hey, there we go. I don't even know where to begin today because there were so many crazy things in the last 48 hours. Guys, where are we at on the Chris Bledsoe thing? Let's start there. Welcome to our panel, by the way.
Hey.
Hi, fellas. Hi.
Hasn't Bledsoe released a new video last week?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'll find it quickly. But
apparently, there was AI involved, but okay.
Very much so. Yeah, I saw the guy that recreated it perfectly by using like a laser pointer, right? Or something, Pavel? Or an out of focus light on a house. Recreated perfectly. So
so are we sort of accusing him of creating something from scratch, or is it just an artifact of AI upscaling, or?
It sounds like it's an intentional AI upscaling and then passing off as a genuine orb video. I'm comfortable with that explanation. I don't know about Pavel, but that's how I feel.
Same.
Yep.
Where's the actual clip? Is that up on
Chris Bledsoe's
I know it's on Instagram,
Instagram account.
This is the clip, right? This one here.
Yeah, that's
the one. Okay, there it is. Yeah. So this is the real. This is the one he posted, not the one that the guy claimed.
I'm gonna try to find the one the guy made.
Yeah, this is the one that Chris posted. I don't. I mean, even if it, if I would struggle to find anything in this image in the video that's like, there's an alien. It's just a light artifact, even whatever it is. I don't know.
It's very cool.
Yeah. Does look.
It looks like something from, I don't know, from one of those stores at the mall that sells like geodes. Patchouli. It's cool. I if I saw that outside, I would be genuinely
but I don't think he did. I'm quickly getting pretty over the
you're
Bledsoe.
done.
So you're going to the deception angle now.
I think I think it's slipping away. I think their whole thing, the good intentions at the beginning possibly might be giving way to attention and I think a bunch of nonsense.
I mean, Ryan is still angry. People don't say Bledsoe right after orb. So
yeah.
Oh my God.
Did he do it again today or yesterday?
Yeah.
I can't do it. I just
Dan's declaring war on the Bledsoes.
No, I'm declaring.
You and Xander, you're always at war with people.
I'm
What's
not
going on?
at war with anybody. Me? Where did I get this from? I'm a friend of everybody.
Total hate monger.
It's just the British way. We hate everything.
Clint, where are you at with it?
With Bledsoe, the prediction was always so vague to begin with. Like, what is a new knowledge? Okay, well, the new knowledge could be anything. It could be like, oh, we thought we were all going to die, and no, you're not. Or maybe we are. Or it could be like just today, Melania made this statement about Epstein. We're changing the subject back onto Epstein from the war that we just fought and lost, where we threatened to annihilate a whole civilization. I mean, there are so many firsts every day now. It's almost hard to even process it. So when, if you're asking me, did Chris Bledsoe's prediction come true, or did the prophecy come true? I guess that's what makes it a great one. You could say, yeah. I don't know.
I tried to.
What do we know?
I tried to set a standard for what this. You're completely right that every single day over the last sort of year, at least, has been a new knowledge, and some of it has been close to world shifting. But my standard, I tried to set a couple of weeks ago in a Dreamland episode, but it was there has to be a certain standard for new knowledge. Like, I can't go online and search how to make pancakes and that consider that new knowledge. I don't know how to make pancakes. But the new standard has to be something like, in my opinion, world-changing, but also related to non-human intelligence. Because the whole thing is about non-human intelligence. He exists within the ufology landscape. It can't be, we've discovered that there's a new form of energy. In my opinion, it would need to be something related to non-human intelligence or our position in the universe itself, like big world-changing news, not just another war.
That's a good standard to have, I think.
Yeah, and predicting a new war with the Middle East doesn't take Nostradamus to
call
that one. You can pretty much plan on that every
They've been
3 to 10 years.
for millennia, dude. It's like
this might be a good time to direct people to the Doom vote, the doomerfriday.com website here. If I could get this to share. There it goes. doomerfriday.com/vote is the link. There you go.
every Friday, no hope.
And so this was put together by Mr. Justin. It's the I guess official Doomer Friday fan site. This is the first Doomer Friday fan site, guys, and it's getting better all the time. But you can go here, and as we talk about the doomeriest things of the week, which there are many, you can vote and escalate or de-escalate or hold. So think of this as your own little personal DEF CON meter, and
so
just try to keep it light.
Justin's been making some. He's been making some tweaks on the fly. Like, I literally messaged him earlier with the changes that I thought would work. So you may see it change a little bit over the next sort of few days and a few weeks until we get it like nailed. But yeah, I think it's open now for the entire episode. You can vote, but you can only vote like once every 5 minutes or so. Rather than us opening up different windows, it means you can just be like, okay, that felt a bit doomy, I'll hop on, vote it, and then and so on and so forth. But yeah, he's doing it. I only told him about making these changes like 3-4 hours ago, and he's already done them. It's insane.
Justin is an example of what AI is capable, like what a single person armed with powerful AI is capable of accomplishing.
Yeah.
It's like,
So thank God he's a good heart. He's a good heart and doesn't want to ruin the world. Otherwise, he would have done it in the last 2 weeks.
oh my God. Can someone else
do anything he puts his mind to?
I can't escalate again, but the little sounds are awesome. Like, I love these little. I wish I just had the soundboard for this, where I could just like tie that to an easy button.
Soundboard that would
be careful how much you say, because he'll just make one for you.
Yeah. Oh wow, here we are. Oh, okay. This is where everybody's voted. Okay, we're escalating. Mr. Justin's all right. Okay. D.
So right now, apparently, we're in green, normal human malaise.
Is that what it says?
Yeah.
Where does it say normal human malaise?
Right at the bottom, though. There. That's it. Just run-of-the-mill malaise. There we go.
Wow. This is brilliant.
So yeah, that's open all the time, I think, at this point. And,
Doomerfriday.com/vote, guys. Yeah. Go there. Vote early, vote often. So
I had a question for Dan.
Oh,
please.
Oh no.
Because you said you were sort of changing a little bit. No.
You okay? You okay, Clint?
I have so many things to ask you guys about.
You were sort of swaying a little bit on Bledsoe, and I get that. I fully get it. But I personally can't find a coherent way to think that he may have had a true experience and that at any point he chooses to use the horrible phrase that I hate, grift. So, I mean, do you think it is possible that he did have a genuine experience, but now he's just so desperate that even now he will start to make things up?
I think so, and I'm completely. I really, really do believe his initial experience is. I believe that to be factual. It makes sense to me. It doesn't sound like anything we haven't really heard from some people before. I just think it's gotten a little out of control, and I don't think it's not a money grift. It's like it feels like an attention or like relevance grift. I don't know. It's turning me off, and it probably is mostly. It's probably mostly Ryan that is making me sour on the entire thing. And I've never met Ryan, and maybe if I meet him sometime, we can talk about it. But it's just it's so uncomfortable and so off-putting to me the way that he portrays that family, and unfortunately, it's souring my opinion towards Chris as well. And that's probably a flaw of mine. So it's not necessarily something that Chris is doing specifically. It's just the whole thing is just really souring me personally.
Well, let's take a step back for a second and realize, like, think of how the timeline that we're in right now is so weird. By the way, Cole and I think we jumped timelines the other day on Rex Manning Day, no less.
It's a weird story, by the way.
It's a very weird story. But we both saw the same event happen twice. Both of us on different parts of the country. I saw the same person walk by me twice. I saw this, and then he saw, I don't know if he saw that exact same sequence, but it was something like that. Anyway, we walked up to the edge of a nuclear attack on another country. And then we were minutes away. And the president of the United States threatened to destroy a civilization. Like, just that alone is the closest we've probably ever come to what could have happened. And we're not even done yet. And we don't know what the fuck is actually going on over there. Does anyone have accurate information coming out of Iran as to what's been destroyed, what's real, what's not?
I know they're bombing the shit out of Lebanon too.
That too now.
So in the haziness of a complete information vacuum, whatever information we have, we don't know how accurate it is. We don't know who to trust. They are winning the propaganda war, which is something I actually want to bring up in a second and talk about this other podcast that I really fell in love with and I want to share with you guys. So Bledsoe's prophecy, he was up until minutes before the deadline. I was like, it could be on the nose. This could be it. And there was, you could make the argument that we don't know what happened. We still don't really know what happened. What we do know that happened was that Donald Trump took the worst deal ever. Iran won, and they now control the most important oil pipeline in the world, and they get to tax every ship that goes through it, 2 million in Bitcoin every day. For every single ship, it's like $1 per barrel of oil that gets transported through. They get to keep that now, and they get sanctions relief. So we lifted the sanctions. They get to keep the oil. They get to tax it. We lost.
The art of the deal, baby. The art of the deal.
Right. We got our asses kicked. And that's fine, because this was a bullshit war to begin with, and it should have never started. None of it should have happened. This was all wrong. Dude, this week he lost Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, guys, the situation was so bad that today they tried to switch the conversation back to Epstein. That's how bad it was.
Can we go back to Epstein, please?
They were like, please, can we start talking about Epstein again? Because this was just the worst. So anyway, I guess, with regard to Chris Bledsoe's statement and the prophecy and all of that, it looked pretty, like we were pretty close there. And who knows what actually happened? And what we do know now, the new knowledge that we seem to have is, like, we know the limits of American power for sure. We know what they are willing to try and do and what they're not capable of doing. Like there's some very interesting new knowledge, and the world is changing in a way that we didn't expect it to just a few weeks ago. So that's accurate in a way.
You been watching any John Mearsheimer by any chance?
Mm-mm.
You should. You'd love him.
Who's
You'd
that?
love him. He's old. He's an old school a sort of geopolitical analyst. But yeah, he basically said what you've just said, Clint. Basically, that yeah, the world has learned a lot over the last week about the limits of the most powerful military force the world has ever seen. Priorities live elsewhere at this point. They truly do, and there's I know this isn't a show about geopolitical issues, but I think it says a lot when all of Europe was like, no, we don't want to get involved. Like, we're just kind of done. We can't afford to go to war anymore. Like, let's just chill and make like some sort of deal out of all of this. And I think that's pretty much the same across the rest of the world as well at this point. We're just kind of just a bit tired of trying to fight all the time, which is good. I think that's good.
Yes.
Even like Americans are fucking tired of it. Like, how bad do you think we feel? We're just like, dude, again, another, and then they were asking for a $1.4 trillion defense budget on top of all of this other stuff. And I don't see how you can look at it any other way. The American empire is crumbling right now. Like, they hit a bunch of bases over there. I had a conversation this week with Richard Dolan, and for an hour, this is all we talked about. Like, he was on fire. We were just going about this. And I know it's not, the show's not generally about geopolitics, but I mean, it is Doomer Friday. I mean, that was the closest we've ever come. And we practically are in a third world war if you really think about it, right? Iranian drones are being sold to Russia. Russia's using those drones. Ukrainians are fighting the Russians. We're sharing intelligence with Ukraine on how to kill Russians. Russians are sharing intelligence they have with the Iranians on how to kill Americans and Europeans. It's at some point, it's like, we just, kidnapped the sitting leader of a country in South America. How is it not World War III already? Just without.
I would call it power grab. I don't think it's a world war yet, but we can get there pretty easily. But what happened in Venezuela was a power grab, very clearly. Like the whole drug cartel excuse. Come on, man. Like, your CIA created a bunch of those drug cartels way back in the 70s and 80s. So you're basically responsible for a lot of that. So to get in that high horse and say that it's because of the drug cartels and not the fucking oil, Venezuela has the biggest oil repository in the world. How is it not about the oil? It makes no sense.
It's 20 hours ago, the New York Times posted an article about the new Venezuela approves new law to open mining to foreign investors.
Exactly.
Hey.
Reuters, let's see, new oil contract models. It's funny how quickly all that just happened. This is like in the last 5 days. After oil, France 24, after oil, Venezuela opens up mining to private investors. I like, how are you supposed to keep it all in focus? Like, you're looking at your feed, right? You're just scrolling through your feed, and 1 second you're looking at like a meme, and the next minute it's a post that somebody put up, and then the next minute it's a horrific image of some horribly wounded person in a battlefield somewhere, and then on to the next thing, and then it's an ad for shoes, and then it's on to something else, and then it's something horrible again. I mean, God, it's just, it plays with your mind.
Yep.
There's a Just to bring it back to UFOs, if you don't mind.
Please.
Please. If you remember, Dan Farrar, the director of Age of Disclosure, was on Joe Rogan. I think it was after the release of the film, but he was talking about. I'm going to assume that Dan Farrar did receive some sort of whispered conversations when he was making his film. He probably learned a lot and a lot of stuff, a lot of knowledge that isn't public, but he talked about a real one size fits all weapon that would come out as an absolute last resort, because it's so powerful you can basically only use it once before the world stops and goes like, what the fuck was that? So I'm wondering, we got pretty close at the start of Monday. I filled up my car. I went to get fuel that night because I said in the WhatsApp group we have, we're like, I'm going to go get some fuel, guys, because I might not be able to get any tomorrow. So I got some fuel, and that I felt like we were on the verge of when Trump uses rhetoric like destroying a civilization, that nothing short of nukes and up can achieve that.
Right.
So I was wondering why would Trump cave, is what I'm saying. If he's got this weapon that's maybe beyond nukes, does it have to be an internal threat to the US before they crack out this, let's call it the TR-3B, because that's probably what we're all thinking about. When does that get genuinely used in the battlefield as a last resort? Because we were pretty last resort at the start of the week.
My guess would probably be nukes launched towards the US. That would be my guess. I don't know. I don't know how military operations work, but that seems like a last resort kind of moment.
Yeah.
I don't want to paint him into a corner on how he said this, but Richard Dolan did. We talked a little bit about something like this, and I asked him, because this year is the 10th anniversary of his book, Secret Space Program and the Breakaway Civilization. And so I was asking him a question about that. And I said, in 2016, when you wrote this book, the situation was vastly different. Things are much more tenuous now geopolitically. What would it take for the secret space program or some of our reverse engineered super weapons, if we have them, to be rolled out? And he said something like, and I'm paraphrasing, so, the interview is going to come out in a day or two, but more or less he said, this wouldn't be it, because this war isn't important enough. More than likely, this was just his assessment. And he was kind of saying, regardless of who the president is, and how much power they have and all the things they want to do, the deep state is there, and the deep state people have a method that they're going to do things, and some things they're just off the table. And maybe the TR-3B or whatever it is off the table. You can't just use that. It'd be a last resort doomsday kind of a thing.
I mean,
because once you reveal it, that's it, right?
Last week's activities were not last resort sort of situation. I think it was. I mean, everybody was alarmed by Trump saying killing an entire civilization, wasn't it?
Well, I also think maybe the idea is to use something spectacular like a nuclear weapon. I think there are a certain number of people who just want to see one go off. I think.
Yeah.
Just from a matter of fact speaking, I think it was, I can't remember who said it, so apologies if this is coming from trust me bro territory, but someone was very matter of fact saying that everybody, all of the generals in Trump's cabinet and the people he consulted for military tactics, they were all saying, what do you mean destroy a civilization overnight? We literally don't know how to do that, especially one the size of Iran. We can't destroy a civilization overnight unless we use things we can't use.
Yeah, there is but one way. Yeah.
Yeah, there is, but 'tis but one way to cause such a stir. You have to drop a nuke or use something that we haven't even heard of. that you can't conventionally bomb that civilization into hell. There's just, your military's big, but it's not big enough to do that. So it makes me wonder, what was the plan? What was the plan?
I also wonder that, I don't know that, let's say we have, I know we're calling it a TR-3B, but whatever that super device is or aircraft is or delivery system is, I don't think Trump is the person who would decide to use that or not. I think he would say, do everything you got, and then whoever is at the top of making military strategic decisions would be like, okay, let's use our nuke, or they'd be like, let's use the thing. Let's use the final device that Trump probably doesn't even know about. So I don't know if he would even be the person to make the call to whip out the mega weapon.
He has alluded to those special weapons, though, hasn't he? I'll
Sure.
try and find another video, but he has talked about stuff beyond nukes.
Yeah.
We talked about it. Was it last week? The rods from God, tungsten space-based weapon system, which is almost certainly a real thing. I'm almost all in on it. I would say very likely.
What about the ghost Murmur?
Yeah.
Bullshit.
You don't think so?
Yeah, I don't think I believe that story either. If that was an actual thing, if we could detect someone's heartbeat from, what did they say, 40 miles or 4 miles? What was it?
40-mile radius. Yeah.
40 miles? Okay. If we had that technology and we found 1 or 2 missing pilots, why would we mention how we did that? Why would we tell them, like, oh, we have this awesome thing called Ghost Murmur, here's how it works? Like, we would just tell everyone it was just a normal rescue mission. We wouldn't tell them, we wouldn't explain to the world how we did it with the exact technology. That doesn't seem likely to me. For keeping secrets, for national security reasons, I don't think you would mention that you have that kind of technology if that was real.
Maybe it's just the propaganda effect of like putting it out there, but I'm with you. I think it makes more sense you want them to think you have magic on your side. Like, you want them to be like, what? Yes. These people just can't, they just do unreal shit. How do they do it? That mystery is such a powerful thing. Like, once it's gone, and which is why I think that's the thing that these reverse engineered weapons offer, is that sense of like, where the fuck did that come from? You'd never know, and you never saw anything. Yeah. Ghost Murmur? I mean, I could see, I've heard, what was the explanation, that it's like your heart puts out an electrical field that can be measured at a distance? Is that basically it?
Essentially that, and then AI is used to filter out all of the noise and identify you. But I don't know plausible. I don't know if your heart beating is any form of DNA signature, because it would be a very expensive weapon to use in a very particular kind of scenario, because if your heart isn't some level of some kind of fingerprint, then there's no way you could use it when there's more than 10 people in the 40-mile radius, because
that too. And then also useless. Like if you're a pilot and you're found with your heartbeat, that would mean they would have to know what your heartbeat signature is before you go on the flight, which means they're testing every single person's heartbeat and having it in a database as to how it beats under certain conditions.
Or maybe it's just as simple as, like, if you're looking out, maybe it's a different type of technology that just has a dual use purpose for this. And it could be something like, look, we can detect a heartbeat and we can tell if it's a human heartbeat or a field mouse or an owl. Like, we can tell. So in the desert, if it's a missing pilot, you can use the technology to detect these very faint electrical signals that are being put out by a beating heart, and then maybe with the right algorithm you could filter out all the stuff that's not human and be left with, you kind of know what a human signature would look like, and then you could isolate down to within maybe a few meters where somebody is. Maybe it's something like that. I could see that.
So it'll be dual type
of technology makes me reminds me of Viagra.
Go on.
Yeah, because it was supposed to be for something else, and it ended up being Viagra.
Wasn't it a blood pressure thing? I thought it was.
Yeah, it was supposed to be something else, but that's kind of what you're alluding to. It's maybe purpose for something else, but they use it for this.
Maybe it's a system that makes a lot of sense when you're trying to look at a jellyfish UAP when it's floating over a base. But if you just tune it a certain way, you could pick out a heartbeat in a forest and tell if it's a human or a deer. You know, like you could look through any kind of camouflage because you're not seeing, you know, you're just not seeing any of that stuff. You're looking for something else. I could see that. And even if you found like a cluster of people and you couldn't identify who was who in that cluster, just being able to identify 40 people in a big area where there's a lot of nothing around, you know, and do it reliably, that could be really useful.
Yeah.
But I'm with Dan though. Why would you say that? I mean, why tell anybody that?
Like when we were in Austin and Chris Ramsay did that crazy magic trick to you, Clint, that you still talk about and you're still in awe over it.
I thought about it today.
Yeah, of course you did.
Yeah.
If he did the trick and then just told you how he did it, you'd be like, oh, all right. And you wouldn't ever think of it again. And there's no mystery. Like he wouldn't keep you wondering about it. It's kind of the same thing here. Why explain how you did this amazing thing?
Your Jedi magic.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the technology to actually find somebody you've lost is pretty common. I mean, we can buy it ourselves. Why wouldn't a pilot just have some form of GPS tracker encrypted? Yeah. There were belts that they used to hand out to the military that were made of a certain metal that would show up in certain IR frequencies, so that the US, when they had their special camera, they would be able to see their own guys on the battlefield because their belts were all the same. It's something as silly, yeah. So they'd just use something like that. I don't buy there's any sort of heartbeat technology with this. It'd be such a huge waste of money to find one person on a mountain. I'm sure all pilots have some form of GPS tracker on them when they bail out, whether or not that's like a standard GPS or an encrypted or whatever to hide from enemy forces that are also using similar technology. I don't know, but it's definitely not some sort of heartbeat thing. Not a challenge.
Well, it just felt like propaganda. The only reason you would put that out there would be maybe for like, I don't know, to impress your own people, to make to domestic, you know, audience. Like, look at all the cool shit we're doing. It's an amazing, like war's just like a fucking video game. We can just find you now. You know, you just bail out and you're fine. Oh, by the way, we're going to draft everybody. Don't talk about that, but we can find your heartbeat. The heart of a true American can be spotted from space.
Sounds like passage material.
It sounds like a Mission Impossible Ghost Murmur, where they find Ethan Hunt in the battlefield using his heartbeat technology.
They find Mumbles from Dick Tracy.
Mumbles, hell yeah, dude.
Mumbles. Oh my god. Here's a good. Okay. Burko, thanks for the super chat, man. We think about war in kinetic terms, but info is regularly manipulated by nations. Everything being disseminated to us through official channels is as much intended for Americans as it is the globe. Very well put.
If there's a world war, it's a war of information, not like shooting at each other. And it's been happening for decades.
There is a great podcast that I caught, and I am gonna reach out to these guys and see if we can talk to them. But 404 Media did this awesome episode. It's a group of independent journalists, and they look at current events, and they're looking at the Iran situation. And one of the things they pointed out was how Iran is winning the propaganda war. And it was so fascinating because they were saying how, you know, with AI tools, you can now take intellectual property like Legos, and you can weaponize the childhood memories of the world against your enemies with the right clever messaging. And then, you know, you can write a catchy rap song with a powerful algorithm, and in less than 12 hours, you can output a music video that is like phenomenally viral. And I've been watching some of the propaganda videos that they've put out. Have you guys watched them? These Lego, you haven't seen them?
No.
Why don't I show you? Pretty wild.
I'll show you one first.
The Lego one is really good though, if you have that one.
They've got a group there. They go by the name, what is it? Explosive News Team. Explosive News Team is the group, and they are the ones producing the propaganda. So the first one was about a week ago, or no, 12 days ago. Okay, so check this out. I'm going to just share a couple of these, and then you'll see what I mean.
Your mention of propaganda is it's reminded me of a video that Pavel made. That I actually, Pavel knows I watch all of his videos over the past week on a given day when I'm doing a particular kind of exercise in the gym that requires me to just be on one machine for 45 minutes. I want to watch everything Pavel's put out the week before. So I've consistently asked him for a long form version of his previous week, but he won't do it because he hates me.
Not yet. Not yet.
But you made a really good point about propaganda that we can touch upon afterwards, actually. But yeah, Clint, go ahead.
Well, just watch. Okay, so we were talking about the ghost Murmur one. So where's the one about the pilot? Let's see. I want to say it was. This is all them. Like, let's see. Legos pilot.
Taco Tuesday.
Iran pilot rescue.
Where was
two
it?
up, two up, right there.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the one. Okay. So this is their propaganda response to our domestic story about rescuing a pilot.
God is good. He's alive. Go get our boy. One American behind enemy lines. Wounded. Surrounded. We bring him home.
Viper 1-2. Hang in there. We're coming. Coming in danger close. Keep your heads down.
Colonel, let's go home.
Package secure. Heading to extract.
All right. That's one. Here's this one.
Hey, Orange Pig, America first? Oops. Oh boy, that was the slogan you stole. But Bibi's pulling strings and your vote is getting cold. We're not just fighting for Iran, hear this clear. Your people reached out to us. Yeah, we got the DMs here. If one nation's gonna stand against the Epstein regime's fear, it's us till the last breath. We've been doing it for years. We're standing here for everyone. Your system ever wrong, they've known all along. The enemy was always you. The real threat wore a suit and sung a patriotic song while selling their own citizens and calling it strong. Stealing from your own people, making them bleed, taking tax dollars just to fund your own greed. And waking up to the lies, the illusions of burst. You screamed America first, now you put losers first. Make Israel great again. Your government is run by pedophiles. They ordered you to die for Israel. They ordered you to die for Israel. They lied to you all. We saw everything. If the public ever saw the files, man, the planet would shake from the level of filth and the crimes in your wake. No wonder Jeff called you the worst, you degenerate snake. You claimed you never set foot. You went 40 plus times. You sick bastard, you cooked. We stepping up to the plate. Epstein regime gotta fall. You fake Christian elite sacrificing the ball. Demon, you talk real big for a man with tiny hands. Tiny hands, tiny things, tiny everything. We saw everything, and word got out. The smallness kinda expands. No wonder all those rage tweets, all those desperate rants. Overcompensating bully, always causing the scene. You said you love losers. Well, look at your team. Your government is run by. Your government is run by pedophiles.
Like, Jesus Christ, guys, look at this. This is amazing propaganda. Taco to Iran Mux.
Insane.
But it's also like not. I wouldn't. It's not propaganda. It's like it's so true. It's like
You know,
oh my God,
I wanted
it's
to comment
crazy.
on that a little bit because it really pains me how many Americans are indoctrinated into thinking that everything Islam is bad and everything it's a religion. Like what some of those people don't realize is that every religion has its own extremist wing to it. It's not just Islam. And I would say that many from the government right now are part of that fundamentalist Christian ideology, and all extremism in every religion is bad for the world. That's like a and people that get propaganda from these extremists in the US, they think that the only bad guys are like the Islam, and there's this radicalization against an entire population of people. And I have friends who are part of Islam, and they're good people, and they pray every day, they bring their mats to work and all that stuff, which is cultural, it's their thing. And it just really pains me to see how much ignorance there is when it comes to that. um you know
I think I'm the same way, man. I having lived in New York for a lot of years and just been around. One of my favorite things about that city is that you just have to get cool with people. You have to be all right with other people because that's just where you are. And if that's not for you, it's not the right place for you. You're going to see people from every country in the world speaking every language, all these different foods, all these different cultures
every day.
and that's the best and worst of all humanity has to offer in one city, all at one time, every day. And I think it makes you a better person in a way. If you know how to learn from experiences like that and just be cool with people, it really opened my eyes to just how much alike, because I come from a very white bread town in the South. And so living in New York for me was a big adjustment. And, you just learn about how similar we all are. And the more you travel in the world, you just realize like most people just want the same thing. Just want to get up and have a nice day and, send their kids to school and know that everybody's going to come home at night.
yeah
So this is sort of what I was going to touch on when I mentioned about propaganda before. The new knowledge, there's a few points to make here. That the new knowledge, perhaps, is the fact that we're sort of realizing that military power might not be. Let's forget about secret weapons and stuff for the moment. The military power might not be the dominant form of power in the world as it has been for the last, since forever. And it's a double-edged sword because we do have to be careful as a world society at this point, but it's us that does have a power at this point because the court of public opinion is now forever open. It's always there judging you on your actions. And you can't turn it off. If you do anything on the world stage, the world talks about it within probably less than 20 seconds, the world is going to talk about it. And I know we have to be careful because we see videos like that Lego video and we think it's cool. It's really well made. And how many kids is that going to attract? Just because it sounds good and the video's good. That's the propaganda element. But the message behind it, you can get on board with, absolutely. There's a message behind all of these. But the real power now is in the court of public opinion. And we can always talk about, let's say Epstein was still alive. He could never come out of prison anyway, even if he was pardoned. What would happen to him within 10 seconds? He would be killed by the court of public opinion, and he was that evil that he would have been assassinated, and the world would have cheered. That's why, Maxwell can never be pardoned, because the moment she enters the public realm, she's going to be killed. The court of public opinion is far more powerful than it's ever been. And how it relates a little bit to ufology, and this is how it comes to one of your episodes that you talked about, Pavel. You talked about not reparations, whether we should have that truth and reconciliation phase within ufology. Do we really forgive and forget for all of those past injustices? I would wager it doesn't matter, because if the courts say, sure, we'll grant you immunity if you tell us all the horrible shit you've done, if we learn some of those truths and those truths get out to the public, those people can never operate in the world. It doesn't matter if the court found them not guilty because they've helped reveal the truth. It's all about the public's perception. And if these people have done the unforgivable things we really think they've done, the court of public opinion will completely destroy them anyway. Really, like, I don't mind if we forgive and forget, because the world won't. It definitely won't. It can't at this point.
And dude, at the end of the day, I think that what can change the situation is if people stop getting distracted by everything that's distracting them daily, and just get off their ass and just start demanding stuff from their politicians, but actually doing it.
Yeah.
That's what makes change. And the problem is that we're like distracted with a million things daily in real time, and we can't focus on one thing. And that's by design. And partly the whole tech industry is guilty of that as well. I don't know where I've heard, and I think you guys have to, that projects like Facebook or others were created initially at DARPA.
Yeah, that's CIA. Facebook is a CIA company.
Yeah. So
it was incorporated on the same day that the CIA's, was it the DARPA project called LifeLog was shut down? On the same day they incorporated Facebook.
Sam Tripoli just spoke about this on Danny Jones, I think.
Yes, that's a great one. I want to share this real quick because I don't want to be accused of only sharing one side. Like what we just saw was the Iranian propaganda, which I think is very effective because it taps into some very real problems here in America that I think people are sensitive to. And one of the points of this analysis I'm going to show you in just a second is just why it's so much more effective. And I thought that was really useful information. But let me show you this first. This is on a piece of American propaganda. This is actually put out by the White House. So this is us. And this is what, in the next clip I'm going to show you, they are comparing these two pieces, Iranian propaganda versus American propaganda. Check this out.
So a fucking dude bro took over the White House. This is what
That's disgusting, dude.
Right. Well, that was part of their point. So let me play you this clip. Now, this is 404 Media, and they're independent journalists analyzing this propaganda back and forth. And listen to what he has to say. This is really, really interesting, and it just opened my mind a little bit.
Iran has known that America is its enemy for a long time, and has studied us and watched us, and knows that we respond to cartoon characters. And
right.
A lot of our
that was the big finding.
A lot of our cultural heroes are comic book heroes and mythological figures, and that we love that stuff. And I think that not all of the Lego propaganda is designed for an American audience, but a lot of it is. A lot of it is. And I think they want Americans to see it, and so they make it into a simple cartoon that they know will kind of like be instantly recognized and go viral.
Well, I know that we are going to get into this more, but I think this is a good time to say, like, the message in this is targeted directly at Americans for the most part. And it's like, it hits the high notes of the sort of criticisms of Trump and this war, where it's like, in the Lego videos, it's like Trump is going to Iran to take Iranian oil. Trump is doing this as a distraction from the Epstein. Like Epstein figures very heavily into the propaganda. Like, I think that the fact that it's like destroying the economy, like all of this sort of stuff, like plays into the type of AI propaganda that's coming out of Iran. And so I think it resonates not just on a like, oh, Lego and is like a, you know, a very famous brand, but it also resonates on the level of like the stuff that it's saying is hitting these, like the criticism that people have over this war.
Have you seen the new one?
I don't think so. No.
So it's everything that you're just saying, like times 1,000. So it's Lego Trump in the Oval Office. This time they've got a bandage on his left hand, which is like a reference to you know, these bruises that keep showing up and that people can spread around every time they pop up. And there's a No Kings protest on the lawn, and he's looking at it, and they are playing on a stereo the Loser song from the previous video. It's like part of the No Kings protest. They're building these Lego videos are building their own lore.
Yeah, there's a throwback, like
a throwback
that's crazy.
to the previous video.
Yeah,
and then like he turns around and it keeps cutting to somebody in Iran making a coffin. It says "loser" on it. They ship to him, and there's a shot where the coffin is like open, and it says "loser," and Donald Trump is screaming. And the coffin is surrounded by like the dead bodies of like blonde-haired children, which is like every time they reference Epstein in the videos, like that's what they use.
So
like
there's Epstein in here as well, just to be clear, in some capacity. Right.
Oh yeah, they often hit that over and over and over again. Like even if it's just like a departing shot on the last title card, be like, remember the Epstein files? He's in the Epstein files, over and over and over again.
Anyway, the whole episode is awesome. It's worth a watch. But what they're really getting at is like, you can now take AI and you can make a movie with Tom Cruise, and you can make a propaganda film. You can take, you know, Tom Hanks. You can pick any A-list star, pick any character. Luke Skywalker. I don't know. I'm old. I don't know. Whatever's fucking popular now.
Milton Berle.
Skywalker. You know,
Skywalker is from 1977. What do you mean you're old?
That's like 50 years ago. Holy shit. We have a guest who has joined us. We've got Chad Ackerman has joined.
All right.
Hey,
I'll bring him in. Here we go. Here you go. I'll loose myself.
Introduce yourself,
devil.
man. Welcome.
I'm Chad from BrewFOs.
Chad from BrewFOs is here, guys.
Thanks for having me on.
How
Thanks
you
for
doing,
being here.
Chad?
I'm doing good.
Like
It's
a
nice to
champ,
meet you,
drinking
Clint.
at 11 a.m., bro.
Yeah,
like a champ.
and not. Did you see what I'm drinking too?
What are you drinking?
No.
Check this out. Wait, watch this.
Ooh.
Are you guys ready?
Ooh, the visitor.
Wait. There's a.
Oh, nice.
Wait a second.
shit.
Wait a second.
Where'd you get that?
It's just a local brewery in San Diego here,
Nice.
Wow.
but they do
Cool
a
can.
pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool can. So nice to meet you, Clint,
Nice to meet you
And
too,
nice to
man.
meet you guys.
How you been?
and Xander. You too. Good.
We're just getting doomy this week. By the way, real quick, since not to change the topic, but this is a good beat to let people know. You can go to doomerfriday.com/vote, and you can choose to escalate or de-escalate our doom meter. Shit, I just had that tab pulled up to share, but I can't find it right now. But doomerfriday.com/vote, and let us know how we're doing. What is our doom rating right now?
Just so you know, we're not all that doom, and I agree with this.
No.
We're not too doomy right now. We are on a casual 4 out of 10, which
I'm okay with that.
Justin has
Fine.
labeled just an anomalous reading for now. We're good.
I'm going to
We're good.
vote to escalate.
There's time. Don't you dare. There's nothing. Don't. No, I'm going to hold. I'm going to hold right now. This is such a cool tool. He's already made the soundboard, by the way.
Oh,
Let's
that's
make it
great.
doomy.
This is awesome.
I'm down to get doomy right when I join. Let's do
Hell
it.
yeah, man. Welcome. What's worrying you nowadays, Chad? What's on your mind? What are you scared of?
Oh man, a lot of it. I'm just as excited as I am anxious and scared about things. So just as excited about AI as I am nervous about it. Obviously the war that's going on, the different wars. There's like a bunch going on right now. So, actually, let me bring up something. AI. So I'm really afraid about AI and women. And this way, let me explain myself. Just like religion was kind of taken over by men and dudes. I think that's what's going on with AI right now. There's a lot of great, like awesome leaders in AI that are women, but it's kind of like a dude fest right now. And I think it's like going to be the next religion where it like takes over the world, and it's the new next thing that like controls everybody's thinking and the way we're going. And there's kind of like, I've seen this movement where there's like, it's like a dude thing. It's just, all dudes, bro fest, sausage fest, like, and I think women really like I respect and love our women, and I think that they need to get on this AI thing and don't make it a dude fest. It's a powerful tool that women need. So,
as if the world needed more testosterone, right?
Yeah.
So are you saying it's not enough women are involved in the industry and aren't in positions of power to make an impact, or like how should they be more involved?
Well, yeah, it's just like, I mean, even if you like look at all the major players with AI, like if we're talking open AI, yes, Sam Altman or with Elon Musk if it's Anthropic, I use Anthropic. I left ChatGPT, but I'm just saying like more of like a mindset too, is just like I've seen more dudes just in front of this, and it has started making me a little nervous. And just in the way I'm trying to explain myself properly here, but I've in my own personal reactions, other than my wife, she's teaching how to use it right now and stuff, but I've seen women that have friends and family and stuff that are kind of just like, I don't use that, I'm kind of like, oh, what do you do, prompt pictures or whatever, like, and I'm it just kind of, I'm like, man, dudes are going to start, they're already basically taking control, but they might take control of this in a way where women are excluded and dudes are just like, making decisions, whether it's, I don't know if, where am I going with this?
No, it's already happening. It's already
happening. I mean, but it just scares me in a way that look at where we are. It's been 2,000 years of basically like religious rule, with ideas and minds and in our education and now in our laws. And I'm wondering where this is going to go with AI, and women have been really excluded from those decision making
historically from everything, really.
So
I couldn't agree more. I'm very nervous about the small number of very socially awkward people who are in charge of the most powerful technology ever. And it's seemed really obvious to me that as soon as there are millions and millions of humanoid robots kind of invested in the economy, and they're just sort of doing jobs and working, like a group of like 12 people is going to have control over the whole economy. Like it's going to be completely vertically integrated. There will be no room left for regular people. And I don't think anybody's really prepared for that. I don't think they understand what's going to happen to like families, and what's going to happen to parents, and what's going to happen. This is something where I think these guys are so wrapped up in their own mythology that they've created about what AI is capable of providing for us. And I think in probably the fullness of time, we'll be able to do really amazing, wonderful things with it, but not without some guardrails in the early days to make sure it gets off to the right start. It's scary, man.
Yeah, that's a dark forest for sure, right?
Yeah, the socially awkward thing, like I think I'm pretty socially awkward. But like what you're saying, guys in charge of it, like I'm pretty awkward myself. I think it's just more intention behind it. And we need people with good intention programming AI and people with good intentions that are thinking in the future with AI. And, you know, and I just don't want women to be excluded from that. So that's basically, I think, what I'm saying.
I think I meant I am the most socially awkward person I know, for sure. Like cripplingly awkward. But I understand what you mean, and I wasn't trying to say it like that. I think what I was saying was, you know, you have a group of people who are genius level smart business people who can optimize their companies and achieve amazing results, and then they are fueled and powered by like what seems to be endless investor capital that's pouring into this industry. And so along the way, they're promising like, oh, we're going to cure cancer, we're going to fix climate change. Like, you can put all your hopes and dreams on this one thing that we make. And when you look at these guys and you're like in a one-on-one, whenever you see them in a one-on-one conversation, it's like like Mark Zuckerberg clearly doesn't have a sense of like how people are in real life. Like he's just not, he's one guy with one vision of what the world needs to look like, but he has this enormous amount of influence over how everyone thinks. And I don't know. I just think, you know, you're at the mercy of the ethics of the people in charge of the tools, and those are the people in charge of the tools. And I don't know that they're the most ethical people, especially Sam Altman. I mean, everyone who's worked with that guy has said, like, don't ever trust this dude.
That article this week was crazy about the Sam Altman article.
I was literally about to mention that. That
was
crazy. The guy is literally nuts, apparently. Like a crazy.
Do you have that article?
I will try and find it whilst you guys can carry on. I'll try and find it.
Like complete disregard as to like what can go wrong with it. Just whatever can move him forward, whatever helps him, whatever gets him money. Like no care whatsoever. No weight of responsibility for what he's doing whatsoever. It's terrifying, actually.
That's the thing, right? Like, it's like an AI that's optimizing itself, right? Like, imagine that's what he's doing, right? As an individual, he's one person optimizing his own success, his own company, his own, you know, future. Now imagine millions of those all running around just trying to optimize everything all the time. It's just, when you hear what other people have to say about this guy, and you realize how powerful the AI technology is, like they're downplaying its dangers and really playing up the potential benefits of solving everything. And the weakest link in this whole chain is like, it's like 12 people who really run it. I don't understand how that works. I also don't understand how does it work when, you know, in 20 years from now, the hardware is so powerful that you're able to run open source models that are as powerful as the frontier models of today, or maybe even 3 years from now.
Yeah. This article by
God.
Ronan Farrow, again, if Ronan Farrow has you in his sights, you're fucked.
You're smart.
Yeah, you're smoked. It's a pretty crazy write-up of Sam Altman and what's going on.
I may have shared it prematurely. I can't find the actual article right now.
Wasn't there allegations from his sister too that he like molested her
Yeah.
when he was younger?
Yes.
Or something?
There's a lawsuit.
Like these are the guys that are behind programming what's going to control the future. Like,
Right.
What the? Are you allowed to? We're allowed
Yes.
to. Talk
Yeah.
here, right?
Fuck
Okay.
yeah,
What
dude.
the fuck, dude? That's
Yeah.
like,
Right.
what is going on here? You know,
Like they're subject to no level of scrutiny or oversight. Like, there's nothing. Like, I give Elon the hardest time because he's the richest of them, so fuck him. But like, he is constantly flying around the world in a K-hole. Like, he's just, you know, like he controls more satellites than any other entity in the world. Like, this one guy has his own private space program. You know, he's got billions of dollars in government contracts. He's in charge of sensitive information and technology and like all of this stuff. And he's a fucking lunatic. Like, he's just a lunatic. Like, look at the way he like jaunts around the world and gets involved in fucking everything. He thinks he's like a social media celebrity and a CEO of like 20 companies, and he's got like all these kids, and he's being sued by all his ex-wives, and just the amount of craziness going around this one person. Bill Gates is another one. Going around the world deciding like how we eat, what companies own the genetic material inside the seeds that grow our food, and then he's caught with this whole Epstein situation, and we find out that he's been involved in that for years and years. And that's just two. Think about how many, there are not that many of these guys, and they're all kind of shitty. I don't know.
Bottom line.
It's like Alien Earth. You guys watch Alien, or just Ridley Scott's story, like where it's like is it 5 companies that like in the future run everything?
It's so good. I watched is there another season out?
It's coming. And Peter Dinklage
it was announced. Yeah, it was announced.
It's really good. How does it? Yeah, it's like 5 companies run the whole world. There's only like 5 corporations, and there's no countries left really. All the countries are just owned.
We are getting there.
We will get there, I think.
Yeah.
We were trying to decide earlier before you got here, Chad, that whether or not we thought Chris Bledsoe's prophecy had come true. Was it the 6th that was supposed to be on or about the 6th? A new knowledge, which is right about the time we were tiptoeing up to a nuclear holocaust threat.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Do you think it came true?
Do you think it came true? What do you think? I don't know.
No, I don't think it did.
You don't think it did?
I mean, I don't know what you guys think of Chris Bledsoe. There's part of me that looks at him and thinks, wow, he's the sweetest, like nicest man that's like got good intention and he seems pure and stuff. And then there's also something that within my gut and stomach that's like, whoa, wait, just listen and watch carefully,
Really?
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that? Like, what do you mean?
There's something in me, almost like just something inside me, like when you meet people and you're like, oh, they seem nice, but then you're like, wait a second, something's off here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's something that like a inner something, I don't know, part of my consciousness that just says, wait a second, like you got to be cautious with this person. That's what I get whenever I watch them.
Yeah. And you can't quite put your finger on what it is. It's just
not yet. But I've never, whenever I trust that instinct, it's always served me well. So
if you don't mind, anybody else have that? There's one thing I want to point out about Chris Bledsoe specifically, is that, and it's such a small detail, he was at the hearings on September 6th last year. You were there, Clint. He was behind us in the line. He didn't actually get in to the hearings. There was no need for that man to be there at any point. I don't know if he lives nearby. I don't think he does. America's
he lives in North Carolina.
Is that far? Close? I mean, you could drive it.
Is it worth the trip for no reason?
He didn't drive though.
Yeah, I came from California. I mean, I think if you just want to be there, you go there.
I'm just.
I mean, it wouldn't be a big flight.
There was no gain for him that he would have got from being there, unless he had like specific things set up, like other than the hearing. But he wasn't given special treatment in the hearing, as far as I'm aware. He did not make it into the hearing in any way, because Clint, you literally got the last ticket. You were in that seat right in the corner. Yeah,
last two. Yeah.
So like, I guess I'm trying to figure out why a man that was trying to deceive everybody and make lots of money and stuff like that, and everything that comes along with deception, would travel to a hearing that had nothing to do with him and really wasn't the most publicized hearing or anything like that. It just felt like it very out of character for somebody trying to deceive, but at least may be the action of someone that believes what's happening, but is simply being deceived by other people. Maybe he was lured to Washington saying something under the impression that something more might happen. I don't know. It's just worth a thought. I'm wondering if you have felt anything similar, Clint.
In terms of just him having it seeming
why was he there?
I think for the same reason we were all there.
Yeah,
he's not got has he got his own podcast? Does he care like in that way, like, or does he care in terms of I need to make money from this opportunity?
I think it's probably, look, I think this is a tricky one because in very real terms, and this is hard for even for me to say because this is such a tight community and I don't want people to misinterpret what I'm saying here, but this is it. Like, you guys at home watching, us here, the other podcasters that we know, and maybe some of the ones we don't, but maybe you guys know. I mean, it's not a huge community. Like, we're it. And that's kind of awesome, right? Like, we're, you guys were here first. You were in before everybody else, before it was cool, but we're it. It's podcasters and creatives. 20, 30 years ago, it was Art Bell and it was, Coast to Coast, and it was a different thing. And now, like, it's this new thing. It's a new generation of people. And I think that when they get together, that's a powerful thing. And I think it's the feeling of being in a community of other people who kind of get it and who are at least trying to get at the same truth. That's refreshing. And it felt good to be there. It felt cool to meet everybody. So I could see, whether or not, his information is accurate or his experience is real, I could just see the draw to want to be around other people that are interested in this.
I fully get. For the record, I'm not trying to insinuate any sort of malintent on his part at this point. I simply don't know. I'm just trying to understand, like, what his motivations for being there would be if he were somebody that were trying to be deceptive in this community and take advantage of the community in any way. Like, I'm sure there's a way. I don't know. I haven't identified it. And it might be the case that there was potential for opportunity. I don't know. Maybe he's got a lot of time in his hands. I don't know.
One pet hypothesis that I have about that case, and I'll just throw this out there. I'm not saying I know this is what happened, and I'm not trying to like stir up shit just to see what it smells like, but I am putting this out there as an alternative hypothesis. Whether or not it's true, that's for other people to decide. But having read his book and looked at his case and listened to his interviews a number of times, it is spectacular what he describes. The things that he saw are spectacular. However, it's not impossible that those things could have been a psyop. That could have been some kind of very interesting, not exotic, but eccentric weaponry, MK Ultra style programming that could have been done with a big electric light display that looks very much like orbs and there's things happening. I mean, work with me a little bit. We know that stuff like that has been attempted by the CIA in the past. We know that they do weird mind control stuff all the time. I'm not saying that this is that case. I'm just saying we know that historically has happened. And there are records of this. So is it, if you were looking at the two possibilities of like, maybe he is being psyoped or it's really aliens, it's more likely that it's a psyop than aliens. Not saying it's not aliens. I'm saying it could be. But that's just another idea. If the person believes what they saw is real, that becomes a very powerful weapon if it's the right person, and that person goes out now, and now they're having meetings, and there's people, and they're giving speeches, and they're talking, and their kid has a podcast now, and it's like, oh, you're laying the foundation, the groundwork for, what is essentially a religious experience. Like that was what the description. You meet a lady, she's floating, she gives you information, she tells you that the world's going to end or there's going to be new knowledge. He had this prophetic experience, and then he's filling the function of a person who just had that, is going out and talking to people. I don't know why you would do that if you were trying to psyop this community or mess with one individual person, or maybe you're trying to plant the seeds of some kind of religious idea in people's heads so that if you did Project Bluebeam them later, you could call upon that. I mean, look at how much time we spend talking about it. Like hours every month. We're just going on about Bledsoe.
I think that's just that you're on the same page as me in terms of like I don't attribute his appearance in Washington on that specific day. It was maybe 15 minutes we were stood in line with the guy. But it stood with me because I was there, and nobody else knows that. Like on September 6th, Chris Bledsoe queued for hours and didn't get in, and it's like nobody knows that as a fact. But it's like it that little detail weaves itself into the narrative of the Bledsoe family for me personally, and I'm the same as you. It's like, if I was being sincere, I would want to be around this all the time. And I am being sincere, and I am around this all the time. Like,
it's all you think about.
The band is getting back together in less than 2 months from now, and I can't wait. I'm going to hug Pavel until his bumhole tingles. It's going to be amazing. Like,
bumhole. You're so English. It's crazy.
They just escalated the threat level.
Okay, great. Threat level midnight. Me and Pavel are going to cause quite the stir.
Yeah.
But like that's I live and breathe it because I just love it, and I'm not making money, and I'm not here to make money. And if I was somebody that was here to make money, there would be better opportunities than showing up to a hearing on September 6th and have no part in it whatsoever. That's really the only thing I was trying to say. Maybe there are opportunities. I don't know.
No, but I think if you're part of the community that we're talking about, and you're a figure like Chris Bledsoe right now is kind of a central figure, which is fine. And if that's the case, you kind of need to be at these things just to kind of like, I'm part of this. I'm here. And also, I think his interest is genuine. I think he was also because I was at the hearing before that too, and I think he was there as well. But there's plenty of people wandering those halls who you recognize from interviews and from articles and from documentaries, who don't have any hand in these hearings, but are just there to because it's exciting and to kind of just support the cause. So I don't know that there needs to be like an angle to be there. Like, we didn't have an angle. We just care about this very, very much, and we're there. Which I know you're not saying it's not that, but
can I add something real quick?
No.
Just a couple of things. One is that what doesn't sit well with me generally is the fact that I don't know if Bledsoe does it as much as Ryan does, but they slap the whole religious aspect to it. And it's almost as if they didn't read the literature that's been out there for many, many decades. That one of the possibilities is that this phenomenon does play with human perception. And I think that across the board, pretty much everybody who has studied this may have thought of that, or maybe thinks that way. And especially Brian, he does all this Jesus Christ stuff, like, and I have nothing against Jesus. I actually like Jesus. I'm just saying he wouldn't like the way people are using his name these days, and
yeah,
slapping that religious connotation to the whole thing, I think personally is a mistake. You can do it. You're free to do so. You live in a free country, but I think it's a mistake. And also, as I've said before, there are many cautionary tales of religions and cults that formed after a legit UFO experience, and none of them ended well. None of them. And it's almost as if they don't know the history, and that's what pisses me off. And one last thing before you guys continue, I have been speaking to people who speak daily to Bledsoe, to Chris specifically. And I have told Chris personally that I don't agree with the way his kid is doing things. One of the days when I spoke to one of the closest people to Bledsoe, it was just before that Sunday when we thought everything was going to get nuked. And I asked them, I was like, what do you think is going to happen tomorrow? And this person was like, I think that we may have averted something really awful from happening, but I don't know yet. We have to wait and see until tomorrow. That's what they told me. and then there wasn't any nuke. It didn't happen. And yeah, I know that Chris Bledsoe is probably not ill-intentioned, but he doesn't seem to understand everything that is forming around him, and that there are people that are really not well that are following him, and they are completely believing something entirely different to what he's trying to promote. I think that's my main issue. That's my main issue.
What if that's the idea? What if you were a counterintelligence group and you're like, look, we need to create a guy that is going to go out there and start a little UFO religion, and then we're going to pull the rug out from under him at some point, and we're going to deflate this whole thing and make everybody look stupid. And then it'll feel, maybe that's one thing that they're trying to do, or maybe it's something else. I don't know. I didn't ever get the sense that he was being deceptive on purpose. I don't think this is a guy who wakes up in the morning and is like, I'm going to try and figure out how to create a religion around my experience. I think, it's kind of a little bit of everything. It's, community is the thing that people are most hungry for, a sense of belonging, a sense of, feeling like you're part of something bigger than yourself. And in this culture today, that's in short supply. When you get a group of people around that are cool and that are into the same thing, there's a boost that comes from that. And I think, there is a degree of, it sounds silly, but UFO fame is a real thing.
Yeah.
And he's got a little bit of that,
a little,
a lot of
a little bit of that.
A ton. He's got a ton.
I'm glad you guys brought up Jesus and Xander when you're talking about money. I don't think Chris's thing is money. But like Clint, what you were just saying too, you're saying could turn into like a Project Blue Beam thing or whatever. I think it's like I was telling you, I can't really put my finger on it. Like when I watch him, I think he's genuine. But like I grew up in the church and I grew up in Christianity, and I left in my early 20s. But I met guys like that were like these really like genuine guys that were like, you think they're beautiful souls, and you look in their eyes and you're like, wow, like these guys are rad, but then there was just something off, and you just feel kind of something off. And then you find out later, they did something gnarly or something within the church, and you're like, oh, they got kicked out or something crazy happened. And I'm not saying that's who he is, but all I'm saying is maybe that's where it comes from. But there's something about this where it's like, when you brought up Jesus, it makes me think of this, Chris is healing people. That's what it says in these books. He's healing people. I mean, his interviews, his book or whatever, everyone from these agencies are going to meet him. Now people want him to heal them, and they're like, it's, what did the Catholic Church do with Jesus? And then now all the other branches of religion that have popped off of that. And where has it gotten us now? Some people might think it's beautiful. I know I got to tread lightly here because a lot of your followers are probably religious, and
we never tread lightly. I wouldn't worry.
Okay, no,
yeah,
but I know
come on, man.
Get upset,
Just don't mention Elon Musk.
This isn't Pentecostal Doomer Friday, bro.
But yeah,
I've got something to show you after this, Chad. And when you're done, I'll show it. I think.
No, I mean I'm pretty much done. I'm just saying that's just what gives me pause. Is like Rome was controlling areas, and then they realized, oh, we don't have to control all the land. You just have to control the mind. So how do we do that? And it's, dude, 2,000 years later, everybody, here we are. It's education. It's in our laws.
It worked.
It worked, and it's still working. And that's just what I'm getting pause from, when I see really Christian people.
You've said a phrase that I'm getting really stuck on, and it's a reason I'm stuck on. Possibly the reason we're talking about Bledsoe so much tonight is because you said it perfectly. There's something off, and I'm trying to find what that off is. Is it deception? Is it he is being deceived, or there is something else we've not thought of yet? So Dan, at the start of the show, he's admitted that his opinion is sort of changing in a soft way from perhaps, these guys aren't trying as hard as they should be to provide the truth of what they're claiming to be able to provide to people. That's probably a reasonable way of characterizing what you're saying without saying that the Bledsoes themselves are trying to deceive people. They're being lackadaisical in their approach to the study of the phenomenon to the point where it could be perceived as perception in the pursuit of financial gain or something like that, something along those lines. I'm just trying to pinpoint, like, did this thing happen to him, or do we believe this thing happened to him, and do we believe this thing continues to happen to him, and at what point do the lights in his videos turn from genuine experiences into, let's just go outside tonight, film a blurry plane, and release that and say that's something special? There's somewhere in between there. Dan, you've probably got a thought on this. I can see that.
I do. But please finish. I get very excited. I'm sorry.
I'm very close to finishing. I'm just trying to find the point.
That's what she said.
I'm just trying to find that point between grifter and total believer profit level. Like, that's been, for a lot of people, I'm sure, it's been a sliding scale for the Bledsoes over the last year. And now we're in the year of the Bledsoes, and we're in the month that they said stuff would be happening. So I'm just trying to find that point. Are they completely genuine, or are they somewhat genuine but trying to hold on to a fan base that provides them with food and water? It's a complete gray area.
So I will say, like, they're absolutely 100% not completely genuine. That is absolutely for sure. When you guys had Patrick on from Vetted, my buddy Patrick, was on a few months ago, and he talked about Contact last year, which I was at, and Chris Bledsoe had a sky watch where people from the event would come, and on the ground you watch the sky, and he predicted that this orb was going to fly by, and people had laser lights, and people were using lasers to try to make contact with something. And as this light started approaching, Bledsoe told everybody to stop using their laser lights and was adamant about it. And the reason is because he knew that was a fucking airplane, and he knew the flight path. He knew what plane was going to be coming in, and people in real time were like flight tracking what was going on. So he knew damn well that it's a felony to shine a laser at an airplane, and had everyone adamantly turn their lasers off because he knew that was an airplane. And that is active, premeditated deception. So again, his original case and what happened to him, I think, is real, but he is definitely not 100% sincere in his actions. And I think between the two of them, his son is more of the problem. I'll say it over and over again. I think Chris has some good intentions, but I think Ryan just comes off like, I don't know, just a bit of a snake. I don't know. It really creeps me out the way he operates. But again, there is some deception there, 100% for sure. Doesn't mean there's not good intentions behind most of it, but there's some weirdness going on.
I want to share this article real quick.
There were people on that sighting that were saying that's a plane, and
that's what I mean.
Nobody paid attention to them.
Right, right. They're just kind of pushed off.
It's the same thing Stephen Greer says in that video where they're looking at the flares get dropped out of the back. He's like, turn off your night vision. Come on, everybody, turn off your. This is an article from The Guardian from 26 plus years ago.
Wow.
This is David Hambling investigates the ultimate psychological weapon, the voice of the Lord. Okay. February 2nd, 2000. This is before September 11th. That's how far back this is. We are in Baghdad in 1991, and something strange is happening. A hush falls over the city as a huge, shimmering face materializes in the sky. Soldiers and citizens prostrate themselves as each hears the voice of Allah coming from within, commanding them to overthrow the evil and treacherous Saddam Hussein. Within minutes, an angry mob is storming the palace as the guards flee. This highly imaginative scenario was proposed by U.S. Air Force planners for a bloodless victory in the Gulf conflict. The idea of putting words in God's mouth is not new. The Baghdad plan involved projecting a giant hologram over Iraq. This kind of projection requires a mirror behind it at the scale of the project dictated, a mirror several miles across up in space. Orbital mirrors have to be lightweight. Anyway, they go on to say that.
Yeah.
They go on to say like, oh, we didn't do this, but it's the voice of God is the weapon. And what they're describing here in the year 2000, so 26 plus years ago, is basically what Chris Bledsoe experienced. Microwave transmission. The practical difficulties involved in microwave transmission are formidable. The exact sound perceived depends on the size and shape of the skull of the hearer and their orientation to the source. Microwaves can be reflected or damped by solid objects, so there's a risk that God's voice will have the underwater quality of a poor radio reception. Well, let me ask you, this sounds a lot like Havana syndrome.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that the CIA and the KGB were working on Havana syndrome type weapons as far back as the 1980s. Whether or not they operationalized those was a big mystery. And apparently we thought they never operationalized it. But yeah, this is basically they go, although the plan had major technical hurdles to overcome, this is the Air Force, the main reasons for rejecting it were cultural. Images of Allah are forbidden in Islam. But depleted uranium shells, those are allowed. We can fuck you up with some A-10 warthogs going after your tanks. There are also fundamental problems with psychology, blah, 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 blah. So sophisticated weapons that can supposedly do the things that Chris Bledsoe says he saw. What did he say he saw? He saw glowing lights, balls of light chasing him around, a floating a see-through hologram floating blonde woman and a bull. And then he thinks he was given an object, the one physical artifact that he talks about in his story.
Little furry thing, hands, right?
And he says, I put it down and I don't know what happened to it. I dropped it in a dog kennel in it. I never saw it again. Okay. I don't know, man. Something's something's not right here. Something doesn't add up.
Well, let me ask you this, Clint. Let's first of all, when you're just saying earlier that it might be a psyop, my thoughts sitting here, I was like, why would they pick some contractor in 2000, some random contractor? And then as you're talking just now, I'm like, so maybe if it was that, would they pick one person or do this with like 500 people and see which one sticks? And
why would they pick a humble carpenter?
Oh, come on. Damn it. You got me.
No, it's true.
You got me. No, that's a good point.
You gotta be careful with this stuff.
But how do you bank on him doing everything he's done over the last 20 years and writing a book and going to events? And how do you do
if you surround him with agents that are constantly with him,
which actually happened.
True.
Any Star Trek fans, temporal agents, that could be a real thing too.
Temporal.
Good point.
Temporal agents.
And then my
temporal civil war. Go ahead.
A second question for you, Clint. Why? What would be the point of psyoping Chris Bledsoe from the beginning? What is the point?
Because, okay, this is just off the top of my head. And I feel free to laugh if it sounds silly. Hedging your bets if there is contact. You plant a myth. You plant mythology. You plant some seed in the psychology of people. Chris Bledsoe saw the lady. The lady. Who's the lady? The lady. They're angels. They're here to save us. And then when contact shows up, you can activate that. And then people are going to be like, the lady? Have you heard about the lady? Oh, no, here's a picture. This is what she looks like. Oh, let me tell you about the story. Oh, he was just a carpenter, a home builder. And he was down on his luck and he was sick. And he had this experience and suddenly he was healed. And now, here they are. They're here. Just get on the ship, guys. Come on. It's all good. Take your kids. Come on.
Can I say something here? They're just reminding me of something. Okay.
Yeah, please.
My friends have seen this white lady figure in Utah that's reoccurring in a graveyard, and they named her Flo. I used to go on tour all the time through there, and at one point, right when me and my wife got together, I was like, you got to meet my friends in Utah. And we went and visited them. And I was like, you guys keep talking about this white ghostly woman you see in this graveyard. And I just thought it was bullshit. I was like, will you guys just take us there? I got to see this shit, you know? So they took us out there. We're at this graveyard. You flash your headlights, you know, twice on this graveyard, and then you wait. Nothing happened. And I was like, you know what? I was like, fuck this. I'm going to, if, you know, I'll give her 5 minutes. If she doesn't show up, like, whatever. Right when I said that, it felt like I was underwater, like at the bottom of like a 15-foot pool or something. I was like, whoa, like gravity felt weird. And I was like, oh, and then everyone was screaming. And I was like, oh, I looked over and everyone's pointing ahead, screaming. And there's 5 of us in the car, my wife and my 3 friends. And I look in front, and above the ground, I see this weird fluttery, like like white thing going across the road like this. And it's the only way I can describe it is it looked like someone had a flashlight or like a projector, and it would appear and then disappear and then appear and disappear. And it was getting closer and closer to the car, right? And everyone's screaming, and I feel like I'm in slow motion. And I'm like, and they're like, drive, drive. So I turn on the car and we just drive right through it, right? My friends have experienced this before. I'm getting somewhere with this. So hold on. This
is great.
But
I love this.
Okay. We're my friends have seen this before. So they're like, no one say anything. When we get back to the house, we're going to give each person a piece of paper. You go write down what you saw, you draw what you saw, and no one can talk about it. So we all just drove like, you know, it was like a 30-minute drive or something, just quiet. We get back, everyone draws what they saw, right? 2 of us in the car were religious. I was just kind of leaving religion at the time. And then my friend's wife was religious. My wife wasn't, and the other 2. But so we come back to show each other the pictures. 3 of them saw this white woman, like all like, not white skin. I'm just saying like she was like a white ghost in a dress, and she was walking up to the car, right? What I saw was what I told you, and then what my friend's wife saw that was religious saw the same thing. We didn't see a woman. We just saw this weird, like, looked like a weird sheet of smoke, like projecting in and out, right? But the rest of the night, the only way I can describe it is it felt like if like a crocodile's stalking you or like a lion. I just felt like something was watching me the whole time, and I felt disgusting. I felt fear. I felt gross. And I started going, man, maybe demons are real. And I started thinking like, maybe religion is real. Like, maybe these are demons. And like, and then I was like, wait, or maybe just my idea of what a demon is and what religion is and I was like going through all these different things. But what I just wanted to bring up is I know a lot of people see the white lady, but I don't think she's always some like loving, like, I've heard scary stories about from the past of what she's done and how she's terrified them and stuff. And what I saw terrified me, but I didn't see her. But I just wanted to bring that up and share that with you guys. So,
dude,
that's a great story.
You caught a hitchhiker, I think.
It kind of sounds like that.
I have a painting of her up there. Actually, you can see her.
Oh,
kinda. It's I should bring it down, or share it with you guys. But
dude,
my friend from
crazy.
the Ukraine painted that for me. So
wow. Have you ever had another experience like that? Have you ever seen her again, or seen that thing again, or felt that feeling that you felt again?
Yes, I felt that uneasy feeling, and but that was wild. It was it's hard to explain, but it's like I've been in the gaze of an alligator before. Like when I've been on tour, we've met him in Florida or whatever, and it's like you go, man, that thing wants to eat me. You know, like you feel this, ugh. Or like a lion at the zoo, and if it locks eyes with you and it's like, you know, that's what it felt like the whole time, but I couldn't see anything.
Ooh.
And so it like, we couldn't sleep. And then when the sun came up, it started to dissipate. Like it just kind of went away. And I was like, dude, what the fuck is this shit? You know, like, this is so weird, but I don't know what it was. So.
That is, have you ever looked at Patrick Jackson's sphere network theory?
No.
it would take too long to get into now, but he has a very interesting explanation for what you may have experienced, and it has to do with the spheres that people see.
I've seen a sphere too. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a little complicated to get into in 5 minutes, but I think if you watch his presentation, he did an interview with, didn't he do Chris Ramsay's show? I think he did it. Chris Ramsay.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that would be the one. That would be the one.
Yeah.
We've got a couple other things in the hopper for today. Tim Burchett's comments the last week. Has anybody been following this? What has Tim Burchett got to say?
On a roll. Clips? On a roll.
He's on a roll.
I got clips, but it's probably best. I mean, Pavel knows all about these. So.
Yeah. A couple of things he said. And a couple of things Kirkpatrick said about him too, because funny enough, he's still active in the UFO community despite being fucking retired. What is he doing?
Doesn't he work for SAIC right now?
I don't know.
He's like a
he's supposed to be retired. So Burchett came on, I think it was he was on Newsmax, I think, and he did some ominous statement about how people would like go ape shit. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. I don't have that beautiful accent. And then he actually presented a bill that is aiming towards abolishing AARO, like completely making them disappear. He presented that this week too, and he's been just doing shows. He did one on TMC, which I think is a clip that we're gonna play, where he essentially said that we've had contact with non-human intelligence, and you know we're not alone. But that's a sitting congressman talking to TMC about that.
Hell yeah,
pretty wild.
The sense I'm getting is that the Burchett is a man that has been told so much at this point, true or not, he just doesn't want to keep it secret anymore. He just wants to talk about this openly.
That's why I love him.
That's the sense that I'm getting. Like, all politics aside, I think, and again, he may be being lied to. He may be being misled in a large way. But this is a sitting congressman that says these words. And before we went live today, I said how awesome it was that there are sitting members of Congress that are saying stuff like this. That at least the floor is open for this kind of rhetoric at this point. But yeah, this is the TMZ. This is the TMZ interview. It's 1 minute 47.
Was there something that if we knew, we would feel that we are in danger? You said you wouldn't sleep at night if you knew the things that I saw in these briefings.
Yeah,
should we believe that? That's the part where it seemed alarming.
I don't think we're at danger of this. I mean, if these things exist as I think they do, they could have destroyed us with a blink of an eye. I just don't see that, and I think that's. I just think, but I do think they have the technology and the capabilities of something that we can't understand or we can't grasp.
What I want to make sure I'm understanding is a member of our government has told you and others, I guess, that there is a form of alien life and machinery which maybe brought this living creature here that interacted in some form with people?
Yeah. They have, and they've. It's
that is wild.
It's pretty wild.
Case closed, guys.
I know, but I'm just telling you, I'm not going to lie to you. I'd take a lie to tell you. You want to put me on a polygraph, I'll take it. But this is what the guy told me. I mean, I've had a very high-ranking naval official describe. I've talked about this before. Underwater craft, something big as a football field, moving at over 200 miles an hour. And there's no fish in the ocean that would do that. We don't even have a sub that'll probably do 40 miles an hour under the.
Not true.
And the last thing he said before he left my office was, it was kind of weird because he didn't go out he went out the side door, which nobody ever uses. And he looked at me, he pulled me up close, and he said, "Tim, they're real."
Goddamn right.
Does anybody think that guy's lying right now in what he's saying?
Dadgum, no way.
No.
No.
Who's that uniformed guy that briefed him? I want to know that. And Gates.
The Navy guy is probably Tim Gallaudet. That's who I.
That makes sense.
You think?
Why wouldn't it be? He's our, who else would you talk to? He's the top guy. Like who? I don't know.
Although there's a handful of Navy guys who are pretty open.
Northrop Grumman's new underwater drone.
Oh wow!
I don't know if you ultra deep can go deeper than any manned sub. Manta ray. UUV technology.
Wow.
DARPA's vision of providing groundbreaking new technology to create strategic surprise. Surprise! Anchors to the seafloor and hibernates in a low power state. Modular for easy shipment in 5 standard shipping containers.
I'm gonna get on that
available
Doom
this
meter
Christmas
right now. Gonna get on that Doom meter right now. I'm gonna find that up.
All right, we don't have this kind of time.
Also, why does that have a commercial? Why does that have a YouTube video?
Because it needs one.
Dude, they've got iPhone wallpapers, desktop.
What world is this? What is this?
This is the world where, like if you spend all the money on weapons, this is what you get.
A poster? Wait, scroll back down. You can buy a poster of this fucking thing. Who's gonna put this on their wall? What kind of nerd? There's probably plenty of them actually.
Trigger happy people. Yeah.
Over here, this is my Northrop Grumman Manta Ray poster.
Some of us have been living this for 1.5 years. A lot of excitement. First in class.
Out of here.
The water.
We're now in optimal alignment.
Oh my god.
Actually, it goes faster than any other underwater.
Anyway, USOs are a bigger thing now than they used to be. Maybe it has something to do with all the crazy shit we're putting down in the oceans. Maybe they're starting to get nervous.
Well, yeah, if they're showing us that, like, what do they have that they're not showing us?
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah, that's true.
That's just
true.
That's just for us to go. Oh,
On that particular clip, it was more Tim Burchett's response to the "Have we had contact?" and he was like, "Yep,
yeah,
I ain't no doubt about it." Like it's like the guy has been briefed. Somebody has told him, and it's probably, I mean, it could be one of the people that we know. Like, out of we've all been told by separate people all hither and yon, like that we've had contact in some way. Maybe he's had a briefing from one of those people. I don't know, but he seems as certain as I am that we've had contact.
And Luna's the same way. Burleson is the same way. Yep.
Yep.
She's
how do we Gates
she goes
is kind of there.
What did Luna say? She goes, "You're going to see some weird fucking shit." that was her quote.
Show us.
And release those videos. You see some weird fucking shit.
When did have to wait away from the deadline?
4 days. 4 days. Just 4 days.
It wasn't the only interview that Burchett did this week, right? He did like a couple others. He was on Michael Knowles. I have a couple of clips. Michael Knowles, for anybody that doesn't know, is some douchebag that absolutely loves Jesus so much.
And the sound of his own voice too.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine. I don't know. Is this the one? Yeah, this is the Michael Knowles interview. I'll share this.
This guy.
I haven't seen this either, so it might be rubbish. If it's rubbish, blame Pavel because he linked it to me.
Wild things. I've been in. Let's just say I've been briefed by a lot of high-ranking officials, and the thing I want to warn people about is there's a word called PSYOP, or 2 words, I guess, and these agencies. A lot of them are just chasing dollars, and they would laugh at me when I would talk to them about UFOs or UAPs, which is a complete distraction. I just go UFOs, and now they've seen that the polling of the population of this great country believes that we are not alone, and there is something extra out there, and so now they see the dollars, and so now all of a sudden. A lot of these alphabet agencies are putting stuff out. I would warn people, if you don't see it with your own dadgum eyes, don't believe it. And to me, it's not about little green men or flying saucers. It's about what are we spending tens of millions, if not billions of dollars researching something And why do they say they don't exist? But yet every dadgum department, except the IRS, maybe they do, I don't know. But I don't want to get the IRS ticked off at me just yet. It's getting close to tax day. But dadgummit, why are they all investigating this object that doesn't exist? And why do I sit in a secure briefing and this little punk with a man bun comes in and tells me that he has no data points on something? I said, well, dadgummit, let me give you an example. And I gave him an example of a nuclear facility that shut down literally after they saw these UFOs flying over it. It's a documented case. You can go on news reports legitimate news people have talked about it. So, it's a phenomena, and we need to get to the bottom of it. I talked to the president about it. And, and also one other thing that it's kind of a chilling effect to me is when I'm talking to one of these little gutless bureaucrats that's not elected, and they tell me the president is on a need to know basis. That should scare you right there. But I have seen some things and talked to some people about this issue that would keep you awake at night.
Before we continue, I just think that might be one of the most, and speaking as a former New Age conservative, that might be one of the most New Age conservative videos I've ever seen. We got Michael Knowles smoking a cigar, and how many times did we hear "dadgum"?
4 dadgums in 2 minutes 20 seconds. That's
We
one
should
every
do a
30
drinking
seconds.
game.
In all seriousness, oh sorry.
Here, while he fixes his mic, we're gonna here's Luna's Maxim cover. Here, share this.
What?
What?
Is this
How
new?
do yeah, why is it
Can't
not
see anything.
hang on. Let's try this again. Here you go. You guys knew about this, right?
This is
this is
not
new or
from
old?
today, is it?
It's December 24th. It's an old one, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
It's an oldie but a goodie.
it's an oldie but a goodie. I mean, after
Where's Burchett's cover on Sports Illustrated?
the swimsuit issue. Dadgummit.
Having said that, it feels like Burchett has been told some. I'm just wondering if the people that he's been speaking to are people that nobody knows. That's the big question I have right now.
Definitely. Some
Sounds
for sure.
like it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that makes it far more serious that a congressman is there still talking to one of the biggest conservative commentators on the internet, saying matter-of-fact things. The idea of this, even 2 years ago, I would have been really excited for the future 2 years ago for this to happen. And now it's happening, and there's a lot of distractions, but crazy.
UFOs are real. You've gotten that from 2 presidents and a presidential candidate and former senator, plus a couple of other assorted Congress people, and we tiptoed up to nuclear Armageddon this week and survived, and didn't, for one reason or another, they just didn't go through with it. That's crazy. I could see why they wouldn't tell the president, by the way. Listen to this guy's rhetoric. I mean, the threatening to, basically drop a nuclear weapon on another country. You can't tell that guy everything.
No.
He's a fucking maniac. The deep state, that's kind of I think the logic there is that the deep state endures decade after decade, so they have a more long-term view. Not that it's right or wrong, but that's just kind of their sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and what's going on with the Epstein file release and everything? There's no Epstein file release, pretty much. I think getting doomy. I think 4th of July is going to hit a lot different for U.S. citizens this year. Especially just everything that's going. What the fuck are we doing here?
Well, you heard we're back on Epstein. No, you heard that.
Sorry. Did you guys already talked about it?
No. I mean, the conversation in the country now, because Melania yesterday, completely unprompted, went out to the podium at the White House and just said, in case you're wondering, I have no relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know Ghislaine Maxwell. And then the craziest part is that, for months now, we've been told that there's nothing to it. new was Attorney General said, like Todd Blanche said, that we are no longer pursuing this case at all. Then Melania, unprompted yesterday, said there's something to this. This needs to be fully investigated, and the victims need to be heard. And that's goes completely against everything her husband has been saying for years. And the idea is that she's trying to get out in front of some kind of story that's coming, possibly from Michael Wolff, something pretty damning. But why the fuck did she do that yesterday? What? That was so bizarre.
And she didn't tell Trump at all.
No.
Trump was blindsided by this. He didn't know at all.
What was that? What was that all about?
Do we know that for a fact that he was blindsided, or is that just
That's my question?
No,
Yeah.
I do know.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you explain how?
There are multiple political pundits that investigated it, and they found out that Trump didn't know about it.
I know that
on the Young Turks, the Bulwark, they all reported on it.
Okay.
There was some reporter that was talking, and she said that I just got off the phone with President Trump, and I asked him if he knew what this is about, and he said, "Nope, I have no idea." Now that's what he says, but yeah, I imagine he would not be very thrilled with her doing that. So
unless you don't want people talking about the fact that you just got your ass kicked, you started a war and lost it in a week. In less than 2 months, the whole fucking thing went down, and then you lost, and not only did you lose, but you lost big time, and they came out stronger than they were before.
Perfect time for disclosure right now. Perfect time.
If it was ever going to happen, this is the time, right?
But how does it help me with this, Clint? If Iran, which a lot of us, I think you would agree, and I feel like part of Iran is to distract from Epstein. Why go back to Epstein to distract from Epstein? Do you know what I mean?
Because they're
I know
morons. They're just
That's true.
they're
Good point.
literally like
Close.
bumbling idiots. Like they are dumb. They're just. I'm not trying to be anti whatever the fuck, but guys, I'm done. I'm over it. Like they lost Alex Jones, they lost Tucker Carlson. Like get over it. He's not your
Did you
fucking
guys
boyfriend.
see that?
Like
Did you guys see
fucking,
that post from Trump threatening Tucker and everybody?
Of course.
Yeah,
It
because
was
you posted it. That's why I saw it.
so funny.
It's wild, dude. It's wild, but it's.
I mean,
like,
he's certifiably crazy. This guy has done things that they flipped out when Barack Obama wore a tan suit.
Mm-hmm.
The fucking the amount of the news circus that happened over this fucking tan suit one time. I'm just remember like the stupid things that used to drive people up the wall about the president. And this week it's like everything is on the table, and here we go. We're still doing it. You know, now we're back to Epstein. So we're not talking about, and it worked. They're not, no one's talking about Iran today. I'm talking about Epstein. You know, cover of Newsweek.
So we're just always chasing different tails.
BBC, Melania Trump denies, you know,
I don't know. I just want to put this out there real quick. I have Iranian friends, and I think they say Iran, but I don't know if it's Iran. I don't know if that's like just asking. I don't know. People in the comments.
We in Europe say Iran. But
Iran,
it doesn't. I guess it doesn't matter.
I think some of my friends and family say Italian too. When I'm like,
Okay.
it's not Italy.
Chad, what do your Iranian friends think of what's happening, or what are their thoughts on the initial engagement from the U.S. and where it's at now?
I wouldn't want to speak for them, but it's depressing and sad.
Okay.
I don't want to.
I've talked to some who are like, they love what Trump is doing. Like absolutely love it. Yep. All about it.
Yeah, and that's the thing though too. Is just like, yeah, I don't know. Religion always kind of comes into the play here too with people's thought processes.
No, but it happens in every country though. It happens in every country because in Venezuela, a lot of people disliked Maduro and a lot of people loved him. And it's not just about religion. I think it's about this cult of personality that people had around Maduro, for example, and in this case around Trump too. It also has to do with that, but I think that the whole fundamentalism aspect of politics in America already knows that Trump is not so bright, and they're taking advantage of that to push whatever agenda they have. And it's working.
Of course.
And they've got to cash this all in before November because the Republicans are going to get wiped out. People are over it. People are fucking done. And they're just sick of the fucking circus. I think a lot of people are just over this and they want it to end. And I think people that maybe 12 months ago were all on board and they were all in, I think a lot of those people are jumping ship. I mean, dude, if you're seeing Melania come out and make an unannounced statement at the White House about like, oh yeah, we really need to get into this and look into it. That is tremendous. After everything that's just happened with this guy, oh my God,
undermines everything. Yeah, I just want my disclosure coin. That's all I want. I want my disclosure coin, and then he can go.
I'm gonna buy my disclosure coin. By the way, if you're playing the home game and watching at home, before we move on, hit that like button, guys. Let's see, we've got 511 people in this YouTube studio, and the total stream, we're almost up to 1,000 combined streams. We've crossed the streams. So hit that like button and let's see if we can boost it up even more. Let's go to 1,200.
This is a very politics heavy episode today.
We're going to move on. We're going to talk.
Before we do move on, I want to know if Clint would buy a disclosure coin if it had Trump's face on it.
No. I would.
I would.
I will.
I don't care.
I'd
I
buy
will.
I can buy one a year later when they're like on eBay for nothing.
You can use it as a doormat later. I don't know.
Need a fucking disclosure coin from this guy. Fuck him. Like, would you know? It's like who? It's not. It's bigger than you. It's not. It's bigger than Trump, not you. It's not. Nothing's bigger than Secret Thibault.
We've not seen the coin yet. It might not have his face on it.
It's got his dick. And balls.
Dude, it's gonna have his
probably got his dick and balls on it.
There you go, guys.
With an alien bowing down to him.
We need to clip this one.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
It's just all dicks.
Lazar's
by the
making
way,
the rounds, guys.
Lazar's making the rounds. Lakatsky's got he's been throwing out some shit. Like,
let's go Lakatsky, can we?
Lakatsky.
Quick, let me plug this really fast because I just want to throw this in there. No hard sell tonight, guys, but today's show is brought to you by Night Shift the Coffee. This is a real product that we actually manufacture here at the Night Shift headquarters. And you can see, if I open this up, these are the fresh beans inside. And what makes this coffee special is that it's roasted and shipped to you within 48 hours of you pushing go on your order. It's the fastest, freshest coffee in the world. Freshness that defies physics. And you can get a bag at teamnightshift.com. Go there and check it out. Okay, guys. Yeah. That's it. Lakatsky.
Nice.
People seem to be loving the coffee. I've gotten more DMs that people really love your stuff. So nice work.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, man.
I need to try it. I'll definitely get some.
I'll send you some.
Okay.
Did everybody here watch Lakatsky on Weaponized this week?
Yeah.
I have not.
Okay.
I have.
Yep.
So to get this out of the way, just very quickly before we go to the accusations that he made, because I think that's the main aspect. I really like and I really applaud that George Knapp is like trying to get people to understand how important not just UFOs are in the scheme of things, but the whole aspect of phenomena. And I think that's what Lakatsky tried to do with his book, with the recent one. And he didn't shy away from speaking about things that they saw, creatures, and all this stuff. And I do applaud that, because when I first got into space, I thought this was just about UFOs and consciousness.
I thought it was grays. I thought that was it.
Yeah. And then you realize that it's like a mesh of like everything that's been happening for fucking millennia, that it's, you don't know what it is exactly, but people have been dealing with this stuff their entire lives. Like, and not everybody has experienced stuff. I understand that. And I think that plays a key role in skepticism, that there are people that just don't see the same thing. I think that what Chad described with the lady has a little bit to do with that, because what he saw was very different. And I always wonder, because as you guys know, I did psychedelics for about a decade or so.
Continuously.
Strong quantities.
Yeah.
I never seen industrial quantities, You
should see his former YouTube channel. Jesus Christ.
And something that I realized is that no matter how strong the dose was for me, I never saw fucking elves or like beings. And whenever I was on the same trip with the same dose with somebody else, there were times when people were like, I'm seeing shit. I'm seeing a ghost. I'm seeing a carriage. I'm seeing, like, they started talking about the weirdest shit. And I'm like, why am I not seeing anything? And I think it has to do with that. Not everybody's perception is equipped to see the phenomenon. And I think that's key. That's key, I think. I wanted to say that just because we're going to get into the drama a little bit, because I think that accusation that Lakatsky made, he probably shouldn't have said it. And it
Which one specifically?
Where he said that somebody lied on their oath, he said.
Oh.
And
To
he wouldn't go
Congress
into
in one of the
specifics.
hearings.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't go into specifics. And I think that paints a better picture of what might be going on in the background, because we know the Jay Stratton's book is coming out, and a lot of that is going to contradict Lou Elizondo's book. And I don't know who you guys think he was talking about, but I think he was talking about Lou.
Should we do a quick round table of who we think? Just before we even say. So, Dan, who do you think he was talking about?
My thoughts were Lou or Schellenberger.
Yeah, Schellenberger was me right away.
See, I think Lou. Yeah.
Does anyone have any idea of
what
aspect of the testimony was a lie? Any ideas?
No, he wouldn't go into details, which is what made that interview very frustrating for me, because it's always the same kind of stuff, same kind of back and forth with him, right?
In the hearing, was Lou ever asked in any kind of way if he was part of the legacy program?
He said he couldn't talk about crash retrievals. That's what he said, that he wasn't allowed to talk about crash retrievals. So he didn't comment on that. And I think that's the closest it got to what you're asking, I think.
Okay. Because that would be, I could see that being an issue.
Yeah.
If he denied that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you guys watch the Schellenberger Joe Rogan thing? You guys talked about that, I'm guessing, when Schellenberger was on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And that just like that whole
defending Epstein.
Yeah, not just that, just the whole interview. Just got, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe that's who Lakatsky was talking about. It just seems kind of, no.
Yeah, he seems to have an agenda a little bit.
Yeah.
Seems.
Go ahead, Xander.
I'll try and say this as politically correct as possible. It seems like, and I don't know Lou. I've literally, out of everybody, I've usually like spoken to everybody at least once. Lou is not one of those people. I've not spoken to Lou ever. I'd love to be fair. But Lou appears to be one of those people that has two sets of knowledge. The knowledge that he puts forth publicly, and then the knowledge that he has from whatever separate life he may have. I don't know. I genuinely don't know, but that's a very distinct perception I get from him, is that there are two Lou's. There's two Lou's right now.
Well, anyone in intelligence, right? You'd have to live that life as two people,
Good point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know him, and I'm not making any assertions about his motives or anything. I think it's quite clear that he knows a lot more than he's said, but the extent to what he knows, based on everything I've seen so far, it feels like there are two different lives that Lou Elizondo is leading right now. There's the public one that writes books and is, very public facing, and then there's the other side. And I don't know enough about the other side to really make a judgment at this point, but it feels like, and this is from the outside, so I maybe speak for many people within the universe, within the ufology community that might feel like this, is that Lou has a bigger part to play, and he's yet to play it. But looking back, it's very easy to see that he's orchestrated a lot of what has happened so far. I don't know.
I agree with that.
Perhaps I've said too much. I don't know. The whole thing with Lou is that I don't know, and I wish I did.
So you think he has a big? He has more to come.
I think he has far more to offer.
Well, I think Chad, that's kind of what you were saying earlier, right? Like that feeling, that feeling of like uncertainty about what's your deal. Maybe it's just something you can't quite. I've had that about Lou more than I've had about Chris Bledsoe, but Lou, I've always had that. We actually haven't done a Lou's Clues episode in a long time. We should do. That's a Justin job. We need an animation for Lou's Clues.
I mean, he did survive a really horrible accident. I'm very glad he's okay.
And seriously, all good vibes to Elizondo.
absolutely.
That's
What
horrendous
happened
thing
to-
he went through.
What was the?
Oh my God, dude!
Deer and her baby. And you can, if you want to.
No,
Dan,
no, Chad, please. I'm just gonna click pictures.
I think he was coming home from his bar that he has, and he was driving, and he's only like a 4-mile drive, I think, or whatever. But there was a deer and its baby, and he said he had a split decision when he was on his motorcycle. Do I ram through them and see what happens, or do I try to save the mom and the deer? And he's like, all right, I'll try to save the mom and the deer. So he veered off, and he just like ate shit, and then he went unconscious. Woke up half an hour later, he thinks, and then went unconscious again. Luckily, his phone had the Find My app or Find My Phone or whatever it is, and his wife came and found him. And
oh my God!
Yeah, and his lungs were punctured, dude. It was bad.
Wow.
His face is all fucked up. Like
I'm looking at the pictures. Yeah.
He caved his forehead in a little bit. He broke his orbital socket.
God.
He broke a bunch of ribs, and
They took his spleen out, right? I think they took his spleen out too.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's hard. Oh my God.
Gnarly, dude.
Wow.
So,
what kind of bike was he on? Do we know? Did he say?
A broken one.
Yeah. Dude, deer are crazy. Have you ever hit a deer? Has anybody here ever hit one?
With my fist.
Not in the last 2 weeks. Only
I
when they
hit one.
badmouth me.
I had the
love
same
sparring
thing. I was
deer.
driving in a car and I had the same thing happen. And I went around a curve and it was a foggy night and I was out in the country and I was just kind of in this, residential area, but I was coming around a curve and on this side of the road, I saw a deer and I looked at that deer. And as I was looking at that one, I missed that there were a bunch more and they were kind of getting ready to cross. They couldn't decide what to do. And they decided at the last second to jump across the road and I hit one. And it was so quick. I mean, I can imagine there's no time and you got to do whatever it is. And that split second is so, God, if you're on a motorcycle, Jesus, I can't imagine.
And I heard that your headlights, since they have that reflective layer in their eyes, like you see their eyes light up, they go blind. So you always wonder like why a deer in headlights. People can correct me if I'm wrong, but when they see you, it's like your lights are so bright that you're like, they can't see shit, and that's why they just stay there or they jump into you or whatever.
Well, that's why you have when you go hunting, you use those spotlights. It's called shining deer. As soon as you get the light on them, then you can just walk right towards them and shoot them.
You've been bow hunting for how long, Dan? About?
I've never bow hunted in my life.
You never? Oh, come on. That's not.
I've never bow hunted. Yeah, I like to kill with my
really
bare
good
hands.
bow.
I like to choke out a deer like a man.
Get it to tap out.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There was a moment in one of your episodes, Pavel. I'm a super fan, Pavel, at this point. You're too convenient. Yeah. You're the easy lay. There was a moment in one of your episodes you did actually talk about Lou's bike accident, and you're not so subtle. Well, you've had an NDE. How does that make you were talking directly to Lou at this point? I don't think you'd mind me saying you were talking directly to Lou. You were saying,
I was.
Was this NDE an eye opener for you, Lou? Was this a moment where you were thinking, okay, what does everything mean for me? And that was a really big moment when you said it on a video. It's kind of it's a part that's been sort of simmering under the surface for me, is that if Lou has anything to share, maybe these events have a way of wheedling these things out of us. And I'm not trying to take advantage of a horrible situation. I don't want anybody to have near-death experience and a horrible bike crash and a rehabilitation and stuff to be able to realize these kind of things. But is there a moment, is there a circumstance where perhaps we're right in perceiving that there are people that are public right now that aren't sharing everything that they perhaps should be?
Yeah.
And are there things that can happen to anybody that can really push people to think about what's more important, about preservation of the self or continuation of advancement?
Look at
for humanity?
the doctor from Only Contact, the surgeon. He had that thing. You know, he worked on a bee.
I was just thinking about him.
Yep, and said he didn't for a long time, had a heart attack, and said, if I survive this, I'm going to tell people what I experienced. Absolutely, definitely.
The thing is with Lou, man, is that if you saw Age of Disclosure, it was pretty clear that they're looking for amnesty for a lot of the people involved in that movie. And I think Lou is one of those people. That's why he's front and center of it. So whatever he's hiding or he's not saying, I think has a little bit to do with that. And I think that's the reason why he's not talking about it in more detail. And unless, and I think that's partly the reason why they want Trump to disclose so badly, because whenever those words come out of Trump's mouth, I think that can be like a catalyst for people to just start talking about it. My message to Lou was, and because I went through this, is that whenever you see death right in front of you, there comes a time when you realize that you probably have to change a couple of things in your life. I know I did a number of things, and it worked for the better. And I don't know if whatever realization Lou came to with that NDE, because it was an NDE. I'm not mincing words when I say that. I don't know what that is, but hopefully it has to do with this, and it has to do with that level of silence or that decision to just not speak up about certain things. Because you 1 minute you're here, the other one you're just gone. That's it.
I guess you got to wonder what might happen if the court of public opinion got hold of whatever secrets he might hold. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But
I just don't know that the amnesty thing is the big roadblock that it needs to. You know, it's what's done is done. I don't want to give anybody amnesty because I don't know what we're dealing with. So I don't know, like, you know, just giving that away before you even understand the nature of what you're looking at is kind of weird for me to wrap my mind around. But at the end of the day, you know, I mean, if you want to get disclosure, if that's how it has to happen, I guess that's, you know, what kind of control do we really have over this process? Yeah. What kind of control have we ever had over this process? So they're going to do whatever they're going to do. And if they disclose in some kind of official capacity, like, is that going to be a deep state decision or a president decision? I don't know. I don't know if the president, you know, this is interesting. And again, I had a really great discussion in depth with Richard Dolan about this, which I'll post in a day or two as soon as I finish editing it. But we talked about this, like, America's a failing empire now. It's a declining empire. Yeah. The Iranians were able to attack and hit American bases all over the Middle East. They were basically able to bring America's military to its knees and negotiate a winning deal. And the way that they did that was they basically threatened to blow up all the water desalination plants and the power stations. And then all throughout the Middle East, when it's 130 degrees outside, you can't air condition those cities and they're empty. And you collapse the global economy. So you have this situation where, you know, you're looking at that. And if you're in the United States' position as the dominant superpower in the world, and you've got this technology that is like there for you, do you hold that back until, like, how long until you use it to reestablish dominance over the whole globe? Or, you know, is that a window that ever closes? What if the Chinese do it first, or what, you know what I mean? Like, at some point, I feel like the system, it's like a top that's spinning and it's starting to wobble. Mm-hmm. it's going to go down one way or the other. It's just a question of like, what is the last thing that happens right before it goes down?
Mm-hmm.
Unless we're like in some kind of inception world and that little thing never goes down.
You guys seen a Squid Game, the first season, where like the main bad guy that not the one that runs everything, but the main bad guy in the games, he's on the bridge at that one point and he knows he's gonna die. And he's like, spoiler alert, everybody, sorry. But he would rather bring everyone down with him while he dies than just die himself.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this about Trump, but I'm just saying what it feels like. Like we're at this point where it's like we know the ship's kind of sinking here in the US because like after COVID was basically an alien invasion, and we saw how we all treated each other and how we all came together to stop it. Joking, but like, and then with the Epstein files, this is also a test. Like, are the Epstein files more classified than UAP files?
Probably.
They might be related.
Yeah, they might be related too, because
related,
the scientists and all that stuff with Epstein. But I'm just saying, like, this is all seems like a test for all of us, but it also feels like the end of the road for a power control system. And they're on the bridge and they're like, oh, let's try to take everyone down. Like, we're going down, let's take everyone down. But like, they've tried to get us to have civil war so many times. We didn't do it because we love each other. They're trying to get us to have a world war, and I don't think it's going to happen because I think too much of us love each other. So I'm just it's kind of like, what are these people that the real people in charge? What's their next move? And I don't know. I just wanted to say that.
And you got to wonder what drives their decision making. If it's not them, what is influencing them? If there's something influencing them, which is also a possibility. We can't rule that out.
Yep. That's a good point, Pavel.
Yeah, they're always the others. They're always a factor, right? And and we have it on pretty good authority that they walk among us. I think that's
also.
I think that's where we're at.
Lukatsky made it very, very clear in that Weaponized to not discount the idea that a lot of deception comes from the others themselves.
Yep.
And it might be deception to fool us, or might be deception to get us to make decisions on our own and to learn, like almost like parents, where they use mind games to get you to discover something or to learn something. He was pretty clear about that.
We've got a special guest who's joining us.
I should say, yeah,
a very special guest, Mr. Chris Ramsay.
Oh, wonderful!
What's up, dude?
How's it going?
It's a big day for Ramsay.
Yeah, and just too much doom and gloom going on without me taking part. So.
You had to come lighten things up a little bit.
Yeah, I was listening. I was like, "Oh, you guys you're getting." You should be up in that doom meter.
I know, no one's voting. Doomerfriday.com/vote, guys. Come on.
Before I remove myself, there was one comment in your Lazar interview. It was just, you did it. That's the one. You did it, dude. You've done the interview that everyone wants. So
yes, sir.
Feel free.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
It's a great interview, by the way. Wonderful.
You.
I watched it yesterday.
What am I doing on frame? What the fuck, bro?
There we go. What do you think, Chris? Did Bledsoe's prediction come true? Do we have a new knowledge? Do you feel like you've got some new knowledge today?
I mean, I think those predictions, the way they work, like, you know, as a magician through the lens of a magician, the way predictions work is that mentalists often use outs. And I've spoken about this before, but we'll have like a back pocket of things that we can go to in case it doesn't go exactly as planned. But if you're the spectator, not supposed to know exactly what the plan is, so that if I do go to that, it doesn't seem like it's sort of failed. And that's just a trick that sort of magicians use all the time. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm saying the pattern is keep a nebulous prediction, a sort of amorphous prediction that isn't fully fledged or fully concretized, in that seeing what happens and then retrofitting it to what you were saying before. I think that's like a viable tactic if that's what someone were to employ. not saying that that's the case, but I'm saying that, you know, we have to look at these patterns. So I would say that, you know, he did give a date.
Yeah.
And for me, that was the most interesting part of it, because normally it's just like, you'll have, you know, we've spoken about Bashar being like, it's 2027, it's going to happen.
Bashar.
And then Bashar will say something like, if we don't swap timelines, and you're like, hold on, what was that last caveat? You know what I mean? Like, that's the caveat we're going to get. Like, we know he's foreshadowing. But Bledsoe didn't give that, which I always thought that's what's interesting here. We were getting a hard date. Now, the date seems to have shifted, right, through interviews. Like, it seems like there was like a misalignment with Regulus or something, and they're telling him it's going to be in the fall.
Yeah. October 7.
Right.
Yeah.
October. Oh, is it October? Is that the hard? Okay.
That's the new.
That's the new knowledge. If I'm okay, like, to wait until then, because, you know, just saying it's a new knowledge, Age of Aquarius type stuff. We've been saying this stuff since the 60s, and it can be a little like sort of wishy-washy, and it's all about what's in the back of your mind type deal. But he was saying there's like going to be an event, right? That's how I took it anyways.
I think he said thousands of
backpedaling
orbs.
is like yeah, exactly.
It's like thousands of orbs are going to rise out of the ocean, and we're going to see what's inside them. That's what he said.
That's very specific. That's very specific.
And he said that we're going to see what's inside them. He said that on Bledsoe Said So. So he was on his son's podcast when he said that.
And that, to me, I mean, you know, that's interesting. But then we're getting these photos, which again are, you know, what are we looking at here? Like, that's the other thing. It's really hard to determine, because obviously if he was told this, you know, that leaves one of two things. It's either he was told this, or he wasn't told this, or maybe he imagined he was told this, right? And then if he was told this, is it true or is it not? Right? So just because an entity is speaking to you in your mind doesn't mean they're being truthful. You know, there's all these like layers we don't really know. Like, he could be telling his truth according to whatever visitation occurred. But that doesn't mean that'll happen.
That's kind of where I'm at with this psyop angle. I'm not saying for sure I know that that's what happened to him, but if you need the person to believe it's real, right? Like, I think that's kind of what you're saying about like the magician's sort of approach. Like, they have to be fully invested in the illusion and fully invested in the mythology around it, right? So you need to create a scenario that is all encompassing and completely impossible for them to separate from everything else that's going on in their lives. And then they become the spokesperson for that event. And so what was the event? And it was this woman, and she's very clearly described. We have a painting of what she looks like. I mean, for me, it's the iconography of the lady. And people in the chat were saying earlier, like, oh, you know, I've seen the lady, or other people have seen the lady. A lot of people have seen the lady. I'm not saying that that's not true. I'm saying that might even make it more of a reason to try and exploit something that people think they've seen or they have seen. To what end, I don't know, but I do know that, you know, back in the year 2000, the Air Force was looking at doing this. They had a operational plan that they wanted to, you know, look at deploying for the Voice of God weapon and this holographic thing. I mean, what could they have done in 26 years with unlimited money from then?
So there's so many things they did or they tried to do to Castro, even just make him seem a little more out of control. So not necessarily killing him or, you know, hospitalizing him, but more things to like, they wanted to slip something in his boots because he had his shoe shine at a certain place. And so they put this powder in his boots that like the reaction would be that his beard hair would fall out. So just to make him, to discredit him in the public perception. Face. Exactly. And that's very CIA. And that was back in the like 50s, right? 60s. Like, so what they're doing. Yeah. And they had planned to use projections. They plan to hijack radios. They plan to, you know, like you said, the Voice of God thing. You know, there's all sorts of things that they can do to manipulate a population back then. You know, I'm reading this right now. I know I joked about it last time on here, but I'm reading this, the CIA Manual of Trickery and Deception This was it's amazing because it's historically really fascinating because it was Gottlieb and all these other guys who started sort of the MK Ultra stuff, but back in the 50s, who hired this magician, John Mulholland, to consult on how to deploy poisons during the Cold War if they had to send somebody in enemy territory, and he had to like slip Castro something, or like, so all these sleight of hand tactics, misdirection tactics, these were all being taught at a very fundamental level, I got to say, a rudimentary level though, to CIA agents, and then the brainstorming of like the creativity when you take a magician and how a magician's mind works, and add that to the CIA's nefarious sort of agenda, it becomes really crazy, the things that you can get away with and the things that you can have a population believe. And so, yeah, I wouldn't, like you said, Clint, I would agree. I wouldn't put it past them to be either piggybacking on a real event or completely manufacturing it. Yeah.
And it's interesting because if you look at it through that angle, then suddenly it makes sense why there would be so many intelligence people around him all the time, visiting him, taking him places. Well, what was it? Didn't you, Chris? Wasn't it you who said this last time you were here? You were talking about in his book. It's like, oh, he saved the Pope. There's this. The first part of the book is this, like, we need you to help us save the Pope. It's like a Steven Seagal movie, and they bring him in, and he participates in this op, and it's like, and then they're all bonded. He's like,
there's like a radio that told him that the Pope was in trouble, and then I think it was Colonel John Alexander that had also like had a team of remote viewers view that, and then they actually did apparently, avoid some type of assassination terror. I don't even know, if that was widely reported, but
something like that, yeah,
something like that, yeah.
I don't know. I think that there could be some when you are reading that book, the manual of, what is it? Deception, Trickery and Deception?
Yeah, CIA Manual of Trickery and Deception by Keith Meltman, Robert Wallace.
Did they get into any other stuff like MK Ultra style mind control, illusions and that kind of thing?
Yeah, they talk about the MK Ultra stuff. They talk about the lengthy, like MK Ultra lasted for a long time before it got outed by the guy who sort of killed himself on LSD or whatever and sort of blew the whole thing open, which inevitably also stopped Stargate, tangentially, because they figured, oh, you guys are doing all this weird stuff. You need to, Congress can't keep giving you money for this. That's where they kind of put a halt on all that. But the interesting thing, the forward here is from the deputy director of the Central Intelligence Agency, John McLaughlin, and it talks about how he was also a magician, and so the magician tactics are readily used even today, I think, in the CIA and in these projects like MK Ultra, and because you don't need to actually dose someone with drugs to trick them. Like, that's the biggest misnomer in the sort of psyop that exists, that people think like, oh, you just need to like drink some liquid and then all of a sudden I can make you believe everything. Like, it's way simpler than that. It's literally just suggestion and lies, and that's all it takes. You can actually form, create perception shifting events, both like real events that you're looking at, or auditory illusions based on just words and actions. You don't actually need any, psychedelics or drugs to induce a hypnotic state.
But you can say something in a way, you can use words in a way that will cause a hallucination.
Of course, that's hypnosis. That's hypnosis. Like when you, they were doing this stuff back in like the 30s and 40s, I think. They were getting people, putting them in a room and hypnotizing them to believe that they were hungry, and then they put like an empty bowl in front of them and then watch them eat nothing. Wow. And then they would measure the bowel movements, like their body would be digesting. So there's a physiological reaction to an imaginary thing, and so it shows you how strong the mind is.
Have you yourself ever, when you were coming up, have you ever been hypnotized, or do you ever experienced that?
Not knowingly, but I have hypnotized people. Like that's something that I've done as a performer, as a performing magician. I've done that. So just kind of like this snap induction and sort of street hypnosis style. This is something that, you know, I was trained in sort of through, you know, other magicians that I know, and we share secrets in that way. And so we try these things, and we get people to stick their feet to the floor and forget the number 3 and forget their name and these silly things. But if you look at like the fundamentals of this, you go, oh, I can literally shape someone's reality. And if you're familiar with Darren Brown, which I'm sure Xander, you're familiar with more than anyone here. But Darren's like a world-class mentalist and performer, but he's also an amazing hypnotist. And he's got I've devoured every piece of content this guy's put out, but he's got this one special you guys should watch where he basically through a few weeks hypnotizes a guy into quote unquote assassinating a public figure without him knowing, without the guy who's being hypnotized knowing that he did that, just to see if it was possible based on like the JFK assassination stuff. And it worked. And the actor who was in on it, on stage, was Stephen Fry, I believe. He had blood packets, and the people in the audience had no idea what was happening. They thought it was a real assassination.
Christ.
That's terrible. Super intense, yes, but see if it was possible, because they're telling us, no, you can't be hypnotized against your will to do things that because that was the explanation that we were given.
Right.
You know, and which isn't true. So he kind of debunked that and went, no, you can actually hypnotize someone in stages to murder someone.
And that's kind of the Manson murders. There's speculation on the Manson murders being done the exact same way.
But
that's right.
Well, I guess what I'm wondering is like when you're learning how to do it and you're training how to do it, and I guess, you know, whoever you're working with or however you're exchanging the information and dealing with other people, you must be trying it out. Like, how do you know don't you need to know what it feels like to be in it too? Isn't that part of it? Or I just fascinated by how it works. Like, I don't want to give anything away, but
I think we've all experienced to some extent what hypnosis can do. Have you ever thought of someone and you can't quite remember their name, but it's right on the tip of your tongue?
Sure.
And you're like, God, if I just think about it a little bit more, I'll get it. And you don't. And the fact is that the second you stop thinking about it is when it pops into your mind. That's what hypnosis is like. So it's taking this information, it's suggesting that through words, through saying things like, go ahead, try and remember your name. But the harder you try, the harder it'll be to remember your name. But you can try, go ahead. Now, trying implies failure. And so in your mind, you're like you're pushing it away until you let go. And so there's different levels of induction where you get really deep into like the regressive stuff. Then there's like induction by confusion is another one where, there's this famous story of Darren Brown, once again, where he's being accosted by somebody who wants to like beat him up.
Oh, the drunkard. Yeah.
Yeah. And he kind of like throws this random sentence out at the guy, and the guy starts crying.
How high is your garden fence?
Yeah, something like that. And the guy's like, what? Give me your money. And he's like, no, how high is your garden fence? And he's like, and just completely throws him off kilter and breaks the habit and the cycle that we're all used to having. So there's all these different ways of inducing someone into that state, and sometimes very lightly through confusion. So we've all kind of experienced that.
If someone, knowing what you know, and if someone tried to do it to you, would you see that coming? Could it be done to someone who knows what they're looking for, or like how it works?
I think so, but I think you can also actively not be hypnotized. Okay. If you know that it's coming. I think that's also true. There are ways around that with the general public. For magicians, it's a bit more difficult to do this because we know all the little tactics. But
if you met a Jedi more powerful than yourself,
yeah, I don't think I'd be, if I didn't want to be hypnotized. I reserve a small percentage of maybe okay, but in a general setting, yeah, I don't think I would, unless I'd really want to be. Yeah. And I'd let go and kind of like have them have their way with me, I suppose. But if you take, for example, like if I were to try to hypnotize you, but you're very skeptical, you'd be like, oh, it's not going to work. But then your best friend who you've known since you were, a baby is beside you. And then I hypnotize them and put them under and have them forget their own name and forget how to talk and all these like weird things. something in your mind shifts now because you go, I know this person, and this person wouldn't lie to me, wouldn't partake in something this silly, wouldn't ridicule himself in front of these people. That shifts something subconsciously in you, where now you might be, a little bit more open to being. You might be more suggestible. You become more suggestible through that example.
So, knowing that, and knowing how effective it is, when you see the news and it's like, these people who just go, seemingly like one day they just snap and then they go assassinate somebody. And it's like, was that guy a sleeper agent that just got activated? Like we see this in the news a lot, like was the Tesla bomber guy and, just like
pretty much every time now. Every time there's any
Timothy
form
McVeigh,
of
right, is
assassination.
another one. And there's
McVeigh. Yeah, Oklahoma
I'm
City.
guessing this isn't a new thing. I think they probably figured this out, like even in ancient Greek, like Greece times, like to how to hypnotize people. I think this is something that's been going along for a long fucking time, and then kind of went in the shadows, and now it's in intelligence agencies and how they treat us and work on us and stuff.
Yeah, and not even that. Like they can do it very discreetly. You don't have to be so overt and be like, sleep and you're gonna like whatever. It's like through marketing and through these small things, through sort of neuro-linguistic programming and this stuff. Like if I'm talking right now and I'm just gonna assert a few things and I'm gonna say a few things that are very confident like this, and I'm nodding my head, all of a sudden a few of you are nodding your head as well.
Politicians,
right? So why are you nodding your head? You're just nodding your head in agreement because I'm doing it and it feels like that's the thing to do. So these are small ways of like inducing hypnotic suggestion through mirroring someone's actions as they're talking. If you do that during an interview,
salespeople are really good. So a good salesperson can really do this.
I was gonna say, you can convince people of so much just by speaking confidently. Just by being confident in what you're saying, you can convince people of so much.
Yes, absolutely. I think to an extent, not to get too woo and too weird, but I think that's like what reality is. I think it's convincing yourself that things are real in a way that is objectively, real without being real. I don't know how else to explain it, but like, I think if you're this confidence play, I think can affect probability.
I think you might be right.
Yeah, I think this is where belief comes in too, and that's why I'm so against belief. I think I want to believe in all the believers, if it's Christians or UFOs or whatever it is, and this is where it gets you in trouble for manipulation like this, psychological manipulation. I think we should all focus in this community, especially whoever you are, focus on knowing what you can know, and if it turns out to change, then you get more information, and then something else. I think the whole belief thing really puts us up for failure and also being manipulated.
And it makes you blind to truth or to new truths.
Exactly.
That's fair. That's a good point. I wonder about this stuff all the time because, like this area of inquiry has been so tampered with by intelligence agencies throughout the years that I assume going into it that a large percentage of the information is deliberately poisoned or misinformation. And so it's like, that some percentage of what you think is probably accurate, but we just don't know which percentage or what specifics. And I wonder how ongoing that is, that type of work to keep people confused.
Just to bring it full circle, but without getting just too political again. But you've said already tonight that the US has just had its ass handed to it by Iran. Do you think there's a part of the administration that thinks we won, like genuinely that we won? Because if that's the case, then the propaganda we're experiencing is just as a result of the propaganda they've sort of led themselves to believe at the same time.
I think they know exactly what happened because it's literally been studied. There was a war game called the Millennium Challenge, and this was from back in 2002. And Here it is. It was the most expensive war game ever done, a major war game exercise conducted by the United States Armed Forces under United States Joint Forces Command in mid-2002, running from 24 July to 15 August. The exercise involved both live exercises and computer simulations, costing $250 million, the most expensive war game in U.S. military history. It was set in 2007, intended to be a test of future military transformation, a transition towards new technologies that enabled network-centric warfare. Basically, the way this worked out was there is a Marine Corps general who was the in charge. Here he is. The Red Team, commanded by retired Marine Corps Lieutenant General Paul K. Van Ripper, adopted an asymmetric strategy. In particular, Red utilized old methods to evade Blue's sophisticated electronic surveillance network, simulated using motorcycle messengers to transmit orders to frontline troops, and World War II-style light signals to launch airplanes without radio communications. He basically kicked their ass, and it was the most embarrassing defeat. I think they won within... I forget how long it was. It was only a few hours before the blue team was completely defeated. And basically, when he delivered his report, they were like, we're going to do it again. And this time you have to lose because we can't lose our own $250 million war game that we just paid for. So they went and redid the game, and they basically said
this time you can't have guns.
Yeah, after at this point, the exercise... Okay, so... Exercise was suspended, blue ships were refloated, and the rules of engagement were changed. This was later justified by General Peter Pace as follows. You kill me in the first day, and I sit there for the next 13 days doing nothing. Or you put me back to life, and you get 13 more days worth of experiment out of me, which is a better way to do it. So they did a whole redo, and this time Red Force was ordered to turn on their anti-aircraft radar in order for them to be destroyed. And during a combined parachute assault by the 82nd Airborne and Marines assaulting on the then new and still controversial M22 Van Ripper's forces were ordered not to shoot down any of the approaching aircraft. So long story short, we fought this battle. They knew. And when it finally played out in real life, they probably got their asses kicked, and we just don't know. And there's an information blackout. There's no information. We really don't know what's accurate, but we know that the 10-point plan that they want is the one you get when you win. It's not the one you get when you lose.
That's wild.
So yeah, it's crazy, man. The Millennium Challenge. Look it up. What do you think about Bob Lazar on Area 52 and Rogan? It's on our list, guys. We got you here.
Fucking
what was that like?
I haven't had a chance to see Ramsay's interview yet. It's
been recorded for a while, Ramsay, right?
It's a little
last year in April.
Yeah.
Good job keeping it under wraps, by the way.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that was quite difficult to not let out to people.
Yeah.
How long did you actually get to hang with him?
Like 3 days in a row.
Oh, that's cool.
And then again a second time too. Like we and then in Austin, and so I've been getting to hang with Bob pretty frequently, and just texting here and there, and like he's a genuinely just a cool dude. He's very funny. He's got a great sense of humor, and he was telling me a story of back in the day when, this is crazy. I'm sad I didn't get this out of him on the pod, but he was such a fan of like comedy back then, and he was kind of like the who's who of celebrity. We're kind of interested in Bob's story back then, much like is happening today with like Rogan, etc. And so he told me one time George Carlin reached out to him to give him tickets to a show, and so Bob being like, all right, I'll go to see the show. He goes to the show, and then they ask him to go backstage and see George Carlin, and he says he goes back and he's feeling like out of place. He's like, maybe I should just go home. This is not my... And there's the whole green room and all the comics are there, and he goes, for the next few hours all the comics were just talking about comedy, and George Carlin was nonstop talking about physics, and it was his secret love and passion was physics. He was talking about black holes. he was talking about like all sorts of like really trippy stuff. He got diagrams out and they were both like drawing stuff and writing equations. And he was telling me, he's like, we just like got on about this stuff. So I'd imagine if George Carlin was around today, he'd probably be on one of our podcasts eventually, or on Rogan,
Wow.
talking about UFOs too. So I thought that was just a really interesting tidbit.
Cool story.
Without diving into the interview itself that you've done with him, because I just need to watch it, to be fair. What do you, given that S4 has now come out, we've now all seen the Rogan interview, what do you think happens with Lazar over the next 12 months? Do you think there's more to come in 6 months, 8 months time, or do you think we're kind of in a spell of promotion around S4 as a documentary, and then it kind of drops off a little bit, and then that's it? Do you think Bob has finished telling his story for good, or do you think there really is more to tell?
I think you'll see him on a few more things before the end of the year. I'll tell you, he's reluctant to do anything, and not because of any of the reasons the skeptics might think, and they can say what they want. I've talked to the guy. He genuinely hates it. He does not like being in front of the camera. He does not like talking about his story. He's felt like he's told the story a million times, and it's enough. But, he was sort of convinced by Luigi. Luigi setting out to sort of create a sort of accurate sports model was his initial reason for reaching out to Bob, and they talked more, and he's like, he was convinced by Luigi because of the technology that they could use to recreate Bob's story through his memory. And Bob thinks, hey, if I do this now, just like he thought in 1989 when he came out on the news with George, he thought the same thing. If I just get it all out, people will leave me alone and I could just move on. And, it's quite the opposite. I think it keeps happening. As soon as he gives us something, we're just like, what else, So, yeah, I think, I'm not going to speak for Bob, but I do think he just wants to retire. I think he wants to just get on with his life. Like he's got his own things going on. He doesn't really care about ufology. He cares about his friends and he's got horses. He's got dogs. He's got a nice little, life in Portland, or not in Portland, Oregon. I keep saying Portland, but it's nowhere near Portland. He's somewhere in Oregon in the mountains, and he's got a good thing going. He's just like, like he said on Rogan, he's got a tiny Chevy Bolt, and he's got his little tinkering garage where he does, his United Nuclear experiments, and he's kind of fulfilled in that way, but doesn't really, people see him on podcasts and they assume, oh, he's doing the rounds. He's making, like, to be clear, like, he wasn't promised anything from the film. He wasn't like, you know what I mean? Whether or not he'll get something, I don't know. But there was no like monetarily advantageous component to him doing this again. It was strenuous, time consuming, caused him a lot of stress. And so, yeah, but again, I'm not going to sit here and try and convince people that, don't want to be convinced. I looked the guy in the eyes. That's all I wanted. Like many people, I wanted to feel that for myself, and I did, and then when I saw the regret in his eyes about coming forward, that stayed with me, and you get to see that in the podcast that I had with him. There is, you see it clear as day when you look at it, and I hope people see what I saw, because you see a man who's regretful, and not for coming forward because of the hate or any of the obvious reasons, regretful that he no longer gets to partake in possibly the most important, discovery of humankind. And he'll forever be regretful for coming out because of that. And you get to see that. And I think that that's something really profound.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
If he could go back, he would have not done it. He would stay in the program as long as possible.
100%.
That was one of the best parts. Not to cut in, but when early on in the podcast, I think Chris, you asked him like, would you would you go back if you could? He goes, I think about it every day. I want to go back. I wish I was still part of it. I wonder all the time. He regrets fucking it up a little bit, I guess, right?
Yeah, near the end of the podcast, spoiler, but I asked him, I said, if you had one piece of advice for somebody starting their first day at S4, what would it be? What would you tell them? It's their first day at S4. What do you tell them? And he goes, keep your head down. Don't be a jerk. He's like, just shut up, do your job. And that's it. And I'm like, that's Bob telling himself that.
Yeah.
And it's a really incredible moment. So there are those moments with him that I get to see like this really deep human side of him that I don't think you see on any of the previous interviews he's done, because he's not a natural person in front of the camera. He doesn't like it. You catch him off camera and he becomes just like incredibly more, human and like just kind of laid back and shoots the shit with you. And I feel like you get some of that through this interview, and it's a rare glimpse.
I'm curious if you don't mind talking about it, Chris, and you don't have to, but just as a creator and somebody in this space who's doing such an interesting, it's such an interesting thing to be involved in, and you get to talk to so many interesting people. How do you prep for these? Like, do you spend a couple of days thinking about or do these questions sometimes, the thing about what's your advice for somebody starting their first day, is that one that just came to you in the moment?
That one wasn't. I had a few questions that so it depends, because I'm still learning. I don't have like the answers for all this too. And you can see like from like earlier interviews to like, I try to give people space, but also knowing when to ask a question that doesn't feel so off-putting that it takes them out of, that emotion that they're currently in. And there's all this like weird nuance that you learn through doing it. But I found that currently the best way, like before I used to write down questions and go down a list. And I did that with Lou, which, prompts some great responses, especially from Lou, because Lou falls into script mode very quickly. So you have to like, okay, answer this, or else he just drags you into a script, that he has, and a lot of people have this sort of preparatory sort of a speech, or not really speech, but like a direction of where they want to go. And so there's the best way that I found is first thing I ask myself is, the second they leave, the second they go, they take the car and they get out of your sight, what's the thing that goes, fuck, I should have asked them that question? And that's where I try to start, is like, what's that question where I go, that's what I should have asked them. And I try to linger on that for a bit. And then I'll write down a whole bunch of questions, and I'll read them over. I'll try to make them better. And I kind of create like a mnemonic sort of chart in my mind now, where if naturally the conversation leads to that, I can hopefully, recollect it. And if it doesn't, hopefully I have a natural segue into one of those things. But if not, I'm also really good at thinking on my feet as a magician in social settings. And so I'm very comfortable also having little to no preparation and just kind of letting it play out.
Do you get to hang out like a day in advance and maybe like have lunch, or is it like a cold, like they come in and sit down and then you're
No, it's rare. It's rarely a cold interview. It's mostly, so I fly them out the day before. Then I have a car pick them up, bring them to a hotel, and then I call them. We usually go out for dinner. So I bring them to a nice restaurant. I'll get the bill, drive them back, like usually maybe if they have a drink or something. And after that, maybe hang out for a bit, but try to get an early rest. Next day, I let them sleep in whatever time you want. Just let me know as soon as they're up. You want breakfast, you want lunch, whatever you want. And I just take them out for whatever they want. If they want nothing. And then we have breakfast or brunch or lunch. And then we just chill at the office. I make sure no one's here. And like all day, it's just me and the guests. And I let them doom scroll for a bit while I set up cameras and sort of empty the cards and stuff, and just be like, take your time, make them coffee. And whenever they're ready, I say, all right, let's go. And then we usually by that point have quite a rapport built up, and it's a good comfort level. And because there's no one else watching or anything, they feel just kind of like, and I tell them like, anytime you just like, you're like, hey, I gotta pee or whatever, we can cut anything, it's fine. And then after that, we usually go for dinner, hang out, and the next morning I'll have a car drive them to the airport, and that's usually the extent of the guest stay. So it's like 2 nights.
Have you ever done an interview that you didn't air?
The Bob one.
No, but like one that you're like, I don't think
too hot for TV.
Or just like sometimes just got a rough guest where you're like, they didn't really give you.
I've had
anything.
a couple. But it was early
AI
on.
robots.
Yeah. No, I've had a couple. They were early on, and they weren't a right fit. I had to make a tough call.
Yeah.
One of them was a more sort of like esoteric talk about like, fringe sort of stuff, but it got really weird. And I hit up the guest and, I said, I apologize. I can't, this one can't go out. It's just not, it was early on and I was trying to build momentum.
Yep.
And so I was super apologetic and I'll give that person another chance down the line now, but
it's a hard thing. It's hard to, you're meeting a new person. They come with a completely different, perspective and worldview on some very weird things. And then trying to like have a natural human conversation and get to all the questions you have and remember them all and take all the side quests. I imagine, having an extra a day to kind of just chill and have lunch and just get to feel like their vibe. That's got to be really helpful.
I think it's important.
Yeah.
I think it's important. You're talking about stuff that potentially, especially for a lot of the guests that I've talked to, are core memories, are like very deep, and sometimes traumatizing events. And the last thing I want to do is churn them like in some meat factory and be like, sit down, do your podcast. Oh, nice meeting you. And then I'll never call you again. Like, that's the last thing I want to do. I want them to feel like, hey, this is we're going to connect here. And I genuinely think that it makes for a better podcast. Like I watch podcasts myself, and sometimes I wish the host was a little bit more intuitively sort of connected to what I feel like they're missing. That, and it happens to me too. I watch myself back. I'm like, oh, he was opening up there. How'd you miss that? Or like, and so I try to nourish that as much as I can. And I think that doing that helps.
I watch mine too, and I always cringe. I'm like, fuck, I could have done so much better. I wish I would have remembered, or I think of a new question. I'm like, oh man, I should have,
Yeah.
But what can you do?
Help each other though, because like even with just watching you guys over, as long as I've been watching you guys, it helps each other. Just like, oh, they do that too. You guys even sharing this right now for the next person who's going to start a podcast about this. They're like, oh, I can do this too because they're doing this and they're going through these struggles and things like that. So
that is really important to and I like to talk about it because it is hard and it's weird. It's a weird job. It's a weird thing to be the guy who talks about aliens, in a serious way, and try to like, I don't know. It's a weird job. It just wouldn't have existed 20 years ago. And here it is. But it's just creating content is such a weird thing to do, but it's so easy with the tools now to like make something really cool and special and unique, and you can kind of dial it into your own voice. And I think that I would encourage anybody who's thought about doing it to try it and know that no matter how clunky and weird it is at first when you start out, that's how it is for everybody. It's how it was for me. And you just have to keep pushing through it and showing up. And that perfection state that sometimes you see another person's podcast. Like I look at, like Chris, I look at your show and I'm like, God, it's so clean. It's so polished. It's got like, just, you have the whole vibe, everything about it just comes together. It's so nice. And that's if you don't know the process, that's a refinement that took, I'm sure, many, many, many different paths until you arrived at
ongoing.
Yeah. It's always ongoing.
I think that's a cool part of it, but also like, there's Tim Ventura who just does Zoom. And
Tim's great.
That's what I got. That's why I saw Tim doing Zoom and I was like, oh, if he's doing Zoom, I can do this through Zoom or Instagram Live or whatever. And that's why I started, but I just want to say real quick, not everyone should do it. I think you need to have the right intention. If you have the right intention and you're coming from a good place of curiosity, and this is not about me, this is about us.
Yeah.
This is not about me and making money or getting attention. This is about us. I think that's why you should start it. And that's the
You
only
have to be
reason.
interested. You have to be interested, and you have to care about what you're talking about, and you have to care about who you're talking about. And I've been doing this for about 17 years, interviewing people. And I think the biggest advice I would give anybody is 3 to 5 seconds of silence is okay. It's okay to let things take a beat and chill for a second, because it feels like when there's a moment of silence, it's like, oh my God, what next? I got to fill this up. Just chill out. It's just a conversation. Just relax. It's all good.
You, Dan, are one of the best interviewers that I know. You have a way with people that is so natural, and you're so relaxed with people, and you're so inquisitive and naturally just curious about them as a person. And that really comes through. I don't know if you know that, but that's,
I don't know. I mean, I do care. And I am interested. And like Chad was saying, it's not about me at all. I just like to have these conversations because I care, and hopefully people can learn something from it. But I appreciate that. Thank you, Clint. I feel the same way about actually all of you guys. I know it's a hug fest here, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I've been like trying to evolve what's going on at the Dreamland Motel, and I've been trying to muster up the courage to live stream on the Dreamland Motel for the past couple of weeks, maybe the last 4 weeks or so. I've got the whole like first month's worth of live streams planned out in my head, but the idea of clicking go live right now is very anxiety inducing.
Took me 2 years to take that leap, bro.
You guys do it every Friday though. You're great at it.
We do it now.
There's nothing hard about it. It's
never done it on my own. Yeah,
well,
I might get you to join the first one.
This is actually, I'm glad we're having this conversation, because every time I do them, I just started doing them because I needed something that I could show up for every week on the same day and time, and I could just like deliver on that. And for me, editing was a big time suck that I didn't have the bandwidth for. So doing the live stream, the benefit is that you have this, like, you hit go and then it's just done. When you get up and walk away, it's over. But you have to let go of perfection. You got to just fall in love with the idea of hanging out and being like okay with mistakes. And sometimes you just forget shit and you say something wrong or it doesn't make sense, and you kind of have to back up and figure it out as you go, and that's okay.
It's life, dude.
You know, we're talking about the weirdest shit ever. No one has the answers. That's how I always kind of bring myself off the ledge. I'm like, who really knows? Nobody does. So we're just hanging out here.
Yep. I will say, if you decide to do anything in this space, whoever you are, like whatever leads you is fine. But if it is only financial, you'll find that you won't have enough gas in the tank.
Yep.
Money is not enough to, maybe for a few years actually, but it isn't enough to fulfill you, and that's something that like is an itch that you'll have to scratch eventually. And it might not be immediately. You might think, there's money here, like whatever. And you get into whatever it is. And that might be a big motivating factor. And you might find success actually down that, but that won't give you enough gas in the tank to get up every morning and do it successfully. You need something just a lot stronger than that. For me, it's always been a creative outlet, creating content. And that's been my number one. And I've always said that to everybody. It's not about finding the truth, or like, it is that too. That, don't get me wrong, that's on the list, obviously. But the number one for me is always, I create selfishly because I love creating and storytelling and like making this world for people to live in, this little bubble that I can whisk them away and take them out for a spin for a little bit. That's what gets me off, and that's what drives me and gets me up in the morning. And it's the last thing I think about at night is like, how can I expand this world a little bit more? And I really seek that. So whatever it is that you seek in order to do things, just let that kill you, whatever it is. Find what you love to do and let it kill you is all you need to do. It's just, but as soon as, if you're in it for the wrong reasons, you can try. I always, there's a lot of students and kids at schools and stuff that this is what they want to do now, right? It's crazy to think, but nobody wants to be a doctor anymore.
No.
We're not getting any new engineers. Sorry. We're getting more YouTube creators and bloggers and vloggers and whatnot. It's just the state of the world. But if you go into a classroom and you go, how many kids here want to make YouTube videos? All of them, their hands just go up. You go, cool. How many of you guys want to make a YouTube video and not get paid for it? And then like most of the hands will still be like, yeah. And you go, cool. How many want to make 500 videos and not get paid for it? And then it's like, you see quite a few, less hands go up. And that's kind of the state of things. Is like, you got to have enough gas in the tank to just keep doing it, even if it runs you into the ground. And so whatever is, that's what you have. That's what you need. Like, you're not going to make it if it's only for, finances or whatever.
It's so true. Do you, Dan, Xander, Chad, Pavel, how do you guys, when you're creating your own content for your own channels, how do you approach that? The time factor
I have a similar approach to Ramsay because I do it selfishly as well. But my angle is that I want to keep people as informed as I am.
Yeah,
that's my goal. I'm not a storyteller. I'm a news guy, but yeah, I do it also selfishly because I have to like what I put out first, and then if people like it, that's cool. If they don't, that's okay too. I don't really mind.
Yeah, I have two podcasts. I have the kind of funny sort of comedy discussion one called Rare Form Radio. I've been doing for 7 years, and not a ton of listeners, not a ton of stuff. I do that one every week because it's therapeutic for me, and it's a good release. It's a good reason to be with friends and just be completely stupid, like so stupid, and then sometimes very, very serious. And then Others from Another Mother, I do when I care about something. There's no schedule on that. That's why sometimes it'll go months with nothing, and then I'll get inspired for something or want to talk to somebody, and that's just like, this is fully from a place of I care way more about this topic than I do about the comedy stuff or the fun stuff. Like, this matters to me deeply, so I don't want to. For me, I don't want to do like a weekly thing where I have to do it. So I do it when I care. So I have two different approaches for two different projects.
How about you, Xander? You and I have very similar schedules. We're pretty much in the same boat.
Let's specify the question once more, and I won't take too long. But what was the question?
Well, I just like you and I have had so many conversations about this. Like, you started a channel, I started a channel. We all have our own things, and I like to think of it like these days. That's like, it's a genuine artistic medium, right? It's like having a band or being a music, right? Like, you're building Dreamland. When you build it, how do you approach that? How do you think about it?
There are several wins throughout the week. So there are, first of all, when I come up with that spark of an idea, normally on a Tuesday morning or something, for the next episode that comes out on the Friday, I'll think, okay, there's the angle for the next episode, and sometimes it's cool. So like a couple of weeks ago, or maybe last week it was, I had the whole like fake Dreamland Motel UFO conference. Like, that's the angle for that episode. Oh, sorry. Sometimes there's the angle. Yeah, there you go. There's the episode, Dan Burrish, where I tell it in first person. Just silly little things like that. So that's the first sort of creative win, where it gets to like shape the whole episode, and I really enjoy doing that. And then there's the whole research thing. So everything I write is always I always try and ground it in as much research as possible. Even the fiction, I try and attach as much like lore Easter eggs to stuff as possible, and I'll get several wins when I can weave that into the narrative of what I'm doing. But then there's the actual like script writing, and it's like I'll be writing a section, and it'll probably be like 15 minutes into the writing, and I'm thinking like, this is really hitting home on the point I want to make. And then there's the sort of the editing, and it's I bring in the music, and then it's the music that always seems to time itself perfectly to the point I'm trying to make, and that's where it's like everything starts to come together. So for me, it's like a series of wins basically throughout the week, and it's just they're only like moments that last 5 or 6 seconds. But if you get like 4 of them a week, it's great. It's a real, like, I've just created something very unique, and I hate, I tend on a Friday, when on release days, I tend to switch off my phone and just pretend it doesn't exist, because I don't like the idea of enjoying it so much, and then the end result being everybody just doesn't really care about it, which happens. It does happen. Chris, you know, like sometimes you'll think the episode that you think will be the episode to end all episodes just ends up being so-so for the audience. And then there's like, I did like the 4chan whistleblower episode that was a few months back. I did that as a filler episode, and it ended up being my second most viewed of all time. I was like, I did a load of research and pretty much did like a script half-assed for that, but people loved it for some reason, and it kind of upset me because like I was at the point, like I've been trying so hard to stay creative with this, and I was like, I'll just do a filler episode this week. Did it, and everybody loved it, and then it kicked me up the ass because it made me really feel invigorated again, but for completely the wrong reasons.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's par for the course. All that stuff, man. I've been doing this for like 13 or 14 years now as a living on YouTube, and it's not a healthy thing to do by any means. Like being a content creator for your mental health is really tough. It hardens you in so many ways. It humbles you over and over and over again, especially when you pour your heart into something. And I've now known that the more I love something, the worse it's going to do online. And I'm resigned to that fact now. Now that's a
so
fact
cool
for me, and that's how I treat it now. So I'm like, I can't seek external validation for anything. And if you start doing that, that's where you see a lot of that, depression and everything come around with content creators and being in the space, because you're so focused on the numbers and the things that don't matter, that if you attach, your worth to that, you're going to be disappointed and depressed. So you got to kind of distance yourself from that and find other reasons to do it. Otherwise, it'll drive you nuts for sure.
I want to ask Chad something, because I think he's the one who's interviewed Dr. Gary Nolan from this panel. What was your approach to that when you knew that you were going to interview him? What was that like?
He's I'm neurodivergent. I'm autistic, and I got diagnosed in 2021, and it was I just wanted to start with this because starting Burfos was very hard for me. Every single episode I've done, I almost threw up before. I was crying before a few of them. It's terrible for me. I don't want to be a content creator. And it was just really hard. And then when I did Gary Nolan, for some reason, he broke my brain, because he was my goal when I started Burfos, was to talk to Gary Nolan. And then now I'm kind of like, oh, okay. And this is my first, really, I guess for me, it's a big podcast that I've been on, because I've been fearful of the public eye a little bit, whatever. But I think just talking to Gary Nolan kind of, he was, when I started Burfos, like I'm saying, I was like, that's the goal I want to get to. I don't know if it's possible, but maybe I'll get there at some point. And he was episode 16, and getting to him was just like really cool. And we talked about neurodivergence, which was so rad, and the stuff we talked about in that episode. But just to say, like, what all you guys sharing, whatever, it's not about me, it's about us. And that's what really helps me with Burfos. It's just every time I get a guest, I'm like so stoked to talk to them. I'm so interested in whoever I'm talking to, whether I've had Dan and I've had you on. I'd love to have you on, Clint. I'd love to have you on, Chris. Xander too. If you guys ever want to come on, you don't have to. But I'm just stoked to talk to these people that are genuine, are interested, are what the fuck is life? What is reality? That's what we're doing this for, right? We're all doing this, and I'm not here to make money. I'm not here to be an influencer. I'm here to just let's share this and let's expand this and let's all figure this out together. You know,
Let's learn. Yeah.
And I don't know if I answered your question exactly.
Yeah.
But
you did. Thanks.
You know, my next goal was Dr. E.O. Whiteley, and I just talked to her, and I'm blown away just talking to these people and just getting to talk to them about this stuff. And now just talking to you guys is just so cool. And again, anyone out there that wants to do this, do it for the right reasons. Intention flies fucking craft. So
you say money.
Well, it helps. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah, intention flies the craft.
You gotta get that cheddar.
Intention flies the craft. That is strong words, man. That's some strong magic. That's real. You know, you're investing a lot of energy, time, blood, sweat, and tears, you know, emotion into it. You know, you'd make a video and then you go like beat yourself up over it and you lose sleep and you're like, did I say the right thing? Or maybe I sound stupid. I don't know. Like we all kind of do that. I do, certainly. And it's like, yeah, if you're driven by the need, not the need, but if you're driven by curiosity and excitement and you're genuinely like, I just like talking to cool people. So I'm like, can I do this and get paid? I want to just keep doing this. Like, how do I do it better? And how do I do it more consistently? And how do I talk to more and more people? And over time, you know, just keep at it. It just, you know, you build something and it endures, hopefully. But yeah, and as a person who's always worked as a creative, I've never been, you know, financial stability. Any artist will tell you is not in the game. So you get over that really quick.
And many of us are artists. They're in the space. And, you know, and, you know, if I never talk to you guys ever again, I just want to tell each one of you, like, thank you so much for what you guys all bring to this space, because like, this is rad being on this panel too, because I watch all you guys and your guys' intention shines through. So, you know, I know this is supposed to be Doom, or we're all supposed to be talking about Doom here, but like,
we need to bring that up.
We'll find a lighthearted. We got 8 minutes left.
Yeah.
Lighthearted Friday, huh?
Hey, Chris, do you mind doing an audience question or two while you're here?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
I know you got other things to do, but there's.
I got nothing better to do than to be here. This is the highlight of my Friday, and that's after I posted my Lazar video.
Ooh. Matthew McMillan says, Chris, I'm going to the Monroe Institute in July for Gateway. Any advice for me?
Yeah, get your affairs in order. You know, cross your T's, dot your I's. The last thing you want to do is be on your phone while you're there. And the other last thing you want to do is have huge life decisions waiting for you when you get back. Also, if you have a partner or a friend or a family member that you're living with currently, let them know that you're going to be a little loopy for like 2-3 weeks when you get back, because you're going to be the most annoying person in the world preaching about, you know, out of body states to someone who's just got to go to work. So, you know, I would say, you know, grounding, hyper important afterwards. And they give you a pamphlet on this, read that. And it said literally for 3 weeks, don't make any life decisions, because you're like in this floaty, fuzzy state. Because of all that you do,
is literally like how to re-enter the world.
Literally, dude, because you need it. It's 6 to 7 hours of meditating a day. You're like literally in this like soupy state of like, ooh, life and what is consciousness. And then you get home and you're like, you know, I picture, you remember Mr. Burns with those giant eyes like on Simpsons, and he's just like, that's kind of what you're like.
Live.
Exactly. When you're talking, yeah.
It's trying to bring love. Let's kill it.
And people are like, no, thank you. I have to do things, you know, I have to pay my mortgage and stuff. And you're like, mortgage. And you're like, you know, so be prepared for that. Don't be too annoying, but yeah, get your affairs in order. And when you get back home, walk around barefoot, go for a swim, have sex, go for a jog, like ground yourself in earthly things, because you'll, if not, you might just like float away from your loved ones a little too quickly.
Awesome.
Mixed on Parkway says, for Chris, have you noticed UFOs stay just beyond clarity? Could the phenomenon be interacting with perception itself rather than being purely external?
Yeah, I think that's probably where my head's at currently, actually. I think that seems to be the case if you look at a lot of the patterns. And, you know, obviously this is nothing new with Jacques Vallée, Grant Cameron, a lot of researchers, Diane Pasulka, they've all gone down this sort of rabbit hole where it seems as though the phenomenon is just beyond what we can comprehend, but not too far beyond so that we don't know what it is we're looking at. And so in a lot of the cases, like if you look at the late 1800s, it's in the form of an airship that travels really slowly with like these wings and like, or, you know, you go even further back, it's like floating cities. And it's, so it's never a flying saucer, like, or like in, you know, thousands of years ago, although maybe it could be, but it feels like it's always just beyond what we can comprehend. Like it's chariots of fire, it's clouds that are illuminated, or, so I would think that is probably by design, and in order to sort of, you know, I give this just really quickly. I give this analogy of if I have a blender sort of, you know, program running, and I have this little guy in there, and he's like in this little environment, and he's got an AI LLM in his mind, and he thinks he's it. He thinks this is it. This is my whole life, and you know, he's got his own ideas. And I want him to learn because he's a model, right? I'm like, come on, learn faster, dude. And he's not learning. And so I just like punch in code and I go, boom. And I want him to build a castle or like a statue. And all of a sudden he has a synchronicity, or he's like, oh, I have this epiphany where I need to sculpt something. I want to sculpt. I woke up today. I need to sculpt something. I don't know what it is. I just want to sculpt, right? And he sculpts away at something, and now I'm watching the model grow, and the learning is there's more data here, more info. And I'm like, nice, not fast enough. I'm going to drag and drop this perfect statue that I made in this other window with Blender. It's absolutely geometrically fucking pristine. And I'm going to drag it and just plop it in the sand in front of him, see what happens. Boom. And he goes, who the fuck put this here? What the hell is this? Like, what is this? What's it made of? It's made of the same things, but you know, on an atomical scale, this is impossible. This is perfectly layered. It's geometrically like exactly the fucking stars, and it's like what? How is this even? How long has this been here? Like, and so now he's basing his whole technology and everything he derives and everything he builds and everything he compares everything to is this. And you watch the model grow exponentially quicker now because of the introduction of this new sort of knowledge. And so I can't help but think that we're some type of model being mined for consciousness somehow, and that our consciousness keeps getting expanded through these phenomenon, and which is why they appear in different ways to different people. It's just growing the model, it seems.
Not a question, but a statement from Wes Decker says, makes me wonder if we weren't possibly engineered to be programmable, and if our belief isn't used to render reality.
Boom.
That's a good one. That's like My Big Toe. What's his name? The guy
Thomas Campbell.
Yeah, Thomas Campbell. He's great. Last question. We'll do this one, and then I think we're out of time. But question for all: if disclosure happens and the media becomes awash with content, will that kill off the topic's passion for you?
No.
Great question.
The more people are informed, the better, I think.
It'll lead to more questions and search for more answers for sure. I think no matter what comes out, it'll lead to more questions. I think we're so far from having any idea what the fuck is going on. I think we have 50 to 100 more years of questions to ask.
Lukatsky said in that interview, he said, you have to be comfortable with dying and not knowing everything or coming out. That's what he said. And I was like, oh, yeah. And I think I've heard other people say that too. But it's like, damn. Okay. I hope that's true.
I just think to myself, I guess this would be my closing thought, would be like, if we've got a craft, right, and in S4, Bob Lazar describes how that craft goes into space and then travels a long distance, right? It like hops. It does like a jump to point A to point B, then point B to point C, it jumps again, and point C to point D, it jumps again. And then through this method, it's able to recycle the system and then jump a further distance and eventually get to a distant star system. That's kind of the way I remember him describing it. And it sounded like they had a pretty good idea of how it all worked. And I wonder, like, even if we didn't have the ability to do it ourselves, part of Project Serpo that appeals to me is like, I feel pretty comfortable that if we could send people, we would send people. And I feel like the Serpo story might have actually had a grain of truth to it. Maybe some people have actually gone to another planet and been there and seen that society. And maybe most of us will die without actually knowing, but there's probably some people out there that have stood on the surface of another world and or gone inside a building that wasn't made by human hands.
So wild.
Can you think about like just what that would feel like to be one of those people? You could never tell anybody.
That's the worst part, is not being able to talk about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or spilling the beans on Gaia and no one believes you.
There you go. Right.
Well, I'm waiting for the Bashar interview. That's my next one I want to see. So if you can make that happen, we'll all be excited to see what Bashar has to say. All right, guys, I think that's it. Does anybody else want to add anything before we wrap up?
Thank you to everybody. This was really fun.
I love you all. I love you all.
Love you too.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out. Chris, Chad, you're awesome. Chad, thanks for coming by. Come back
Nice
again
meeting you,
anytime.
Chad.
Nice meeting you.
Eggs and bacon. Eggs and bacon.
Chris is
All
like,
right,
what?
guys.
Yeah, no clue.
Pavel's hat.
Cheers.
That's it for us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for playing the home game and participating in the chat. Thank you to all our mods for keeping us safe and sound and secure and cozy and warm and tucked in. It's an important job, and someone's got to do it. Thank you for watching and supporting the show. Don't forget to go to everybody's channels, Seco Activo, go to Area 52, go to Brew FOs, go to Dreamland Motel, go to Others from Another Mother, subscribe, support these people. We are all trying to do the fight the good fight, do the right thing, and get to the bottom of this. So help us out. And visit teamnightshift.com. Pick up a bag of Night Shift the coffee and enjoy it. It's some of the best coffee in the world. I stand by that. And we'll see you again next week. Thanks for watching, guys. Keep looking up.